The tour for 16 drivers runs through South Florida to a place storied on championship tradition. But instead of a driver hosting the trophy at Race End tonight, there will be a mark placed for the beginning of a 7-race brawl to the series title. Live from the virtual Homestead Miami Speedway in Homestead, Florida, we welcome you to the first race of the Season 7 playoffs for the Monday Night Racing Pro Series presented by Mach 10 Digital and the Bryant Shock Technology 250. Glad to have you with us on Podium Esports for another Monday night, where alongside Joe Peak in the booth, I'm Kenneth Bueno. Eddie Smith is our producer for the night. He's using cameras, as always, provided by Dougie Beard. Joe, throughout the season, we have noted Gen 4s as the marquee car for a special reason. It's going to be featured more often than not in Season 7 for the playoffs for Monday Night Racing. Tonight is the beginning of the journey for those 16 who have worked so hard to get to the 9-race regular season. Now they get to strut their stuff in the first round of the playoffs at Homestead, a track that challenges many, hosted the championship finale last season.
Yeah, and this is a track that usually provides some excellent racing, too, because of the progressive banking, opening up the varied lines that drivers can take to be fast around here. So I expect this is a good place to start things off, because it'll really open things up. Drivers can race each other hard and really go for it.
And from the story that we told last week at Atlanta Motor Speedway, the legacy version of it, with these Gen 4 cars, we had one that was probably for the ages in Monday Night Racing history. Adam Cabot being able to best Bailey Turner in the waning laps of the race on fresh tires, stunning run to the finish, and that, of course, brings us to the excitement of tonight's race from Homestead. Now, Joe, we had those 16 drivers get in. We did have some changes over the season for who's in and who's out. We'll get to that in a couple of moments, but Homestead of Miami, the first of what's going to be 4 races with these Gen 4 cars. How important is the first race of the playoffs comparative to, let's say, the middle of it or even near the end when you get towards that championship finale?
Well, I mean, the biggest thing is you don't want to dig yourself a hole right away. So you want to be scoring consistently. It's basically take the regular season and kind of bring it down in length, and then also up the ante a whole lot. So you can't really afford to have bad days in this one. And starting off on the right foot means that you allow yourself a little bit more wiggle room. So definitely want it here, because, I mean, you look at up next, Talladega. That's not a place you want to leave up to chance.
Talladega, you've got Richmond with the late model stocks, that Daytona road course with the MX-5s, a lot of unpredictability in the middle of the playoffs, and then you have those disciplined, skill-based races, Gen 4 at Kentucky, then at Auto Club, and then our title finale at Chicagoland Speedway. And you mentioned a great point there, Joe, about not trying to put yourself in a hole so early in the playoffs, let alone the first race of it, and that's going to mean big things when it comes down to the new playoff format. We've talked about it many times throughout the regular season, but we'll go over it for you quickly before we get ourselves to the green flag tonight. We've got 16 drivers in it. This is sort of, Joe, like a March Madness style bracket. We've got everybody in different seedings, 1 through 16, and all separated into 4 groups, Group A, B, C, and D. Over the first round in the 3 races, we'll have the 2 best drivers from each group advance to the next, and we'll start to whittle it down from there. Is this going to be just a new thing for drivers to get used to, just figuring out who you have to be on a week-by-week basis, just based on group, not necessarily everybody in the playoff field yet?
Absolutely, and it does make it interesting, because you don't worry as much about what everybody else is doing. You do, in the extent that you will kind of want to know who you're going to be racing for that championship if you get down to the final 4, but it really doesn't affect you in the immediate present. So the drivers are mostly going to be watching those other 3 around them and making sure that they keep track of where they are and that they are the highest of their group.
Now, in the field of the playoffs, most of the drivers are the same that we've been accustomed to noticing over the last couple of weeks through the regular season. Biggest change, though, is 15th and 16th. We saw the beautiful drive from Brandon Howe to technically get a playoff spot last week at Atlanta Motor Speedway, but he has since forfeited his run for the title this season. So in his place is Monin Rahman, the engineer for Venturini Motorsports. So the driver who enters his first full-time rookie season in the Pro Series, going to be able to have a shot at the title. Gary Sexton, who was pointed as the last driver in last week on our broadcast, he is bumped up to 15th. That's the biggest change for the playoffs. Just to keep that in note, driver who comes in, Monin Raman, Gary Sexton stays. Brandon Houff, who was technically eligible for it, has since backed out. We've got warm-up starting here. Qualifying just came to a close, and of course, Joe, there is something to be said about the races here at Homestead. Every time we run here, there is always a great race. 6th time that Monday Night Racing runs here at Homestead. It has hosted a race every single time in every single MNR season. And Homestead is a track that personally is my favorite, my hometown, but a lot of fun to drive in the sim, and one that a lot of drivers really love in real life.
Absolutely. And like I said, it seems to put on great shows. And part of it is because, as you can see, turns 18 to 20 degrees. The banking gets steeper as you go higher up. That means that if you're running the outside, you can carry better speed. It's a little bit easier. This is honestly, I think, one of the best examples of what progressive banking can do if it's done right. If you get it just curved enough to help the drivers. 1.5 miles, though, is really the distinct thing about this place. Usually you see those 1.5 milers in the new, the kind of, I guess, quote-unquote cookie cutter shape of the tri-ovals or the D-shaped oval. This is a traditional oval, so it's a bit different in that sense. It does have very fast straightaways, decently long straightaways because of that, so there'll be very high speeds on top of that because of the steep banking that it does have. This isn't the first version it's had. They went through a few different iterations before they came to this, but boy, did they settle on a doozy.
And this track is the pure 1.5 mile oval. 2 straightaways, front and back, and then you have the progressive banked corners right in between turns 1 and 2, then 3 and 4. Nothing else to it. Very different from the Atlanta Motor Speedway we had featured last week, where you do have the 24 degrees of banking in the corners, but you have quad oval configuration. A bit of a different way you have to drive that track. Here at Homestead, you certainly have a distinct driving style, and of course, you have optimal grooves all across the racing surface, whether it's all the way at the bottom or all the way near that outside wall. We'll be talking about that a lot over the course of tonight's broadcast. Homestead did host the last 2 championship races back in Season 5 and Season 6. This time around, though, they wanted to switch it up. Now it's the start of the playoffs, so it will play a very distinct role in how things will pan out. Let's take a look at the race analysis for tonight's Brian Shock Technology 250 here from Homestead, Florida. We go 166 laps, so Joe, a little longer than what we had at Atlanta, about 134 laps. It's going to be a big difference in endurance for the drivers in the playoffs tonight, but take us through all the other details we need to get this race started here in South Florida.
It's a pretty slow pit road speed here, and that's going to be important because of those high speeds coming off, trying to get it down if we have green flag stops. We also have green-white checkers up to 3 attempts if we get some yellows late in the race. Let's cross our fingers that we don't need any of them. We go to the 166 laps denoted. They don't have any faster pairs. Now, that's important if you're not familiar with this. Essentially means that you don't have a spare car waiting for you. So if you wreck it, I always say you break it, you bought it in this situation. Any damage that you get out there, you're going to have to duck into pit lane and try and fix as best you can. Car setups, they are fixed setups, so everybody's on the same setup of the car, 100% max fuel, so they don't have a limited fuel cell. These can go as long as they can. And then, of course, they have 5 tire sets. That's going to be important because in the past, we've seen that the Highline tends to chew up the tires, even though it's pretty quick around here, Kenneth. So if that hasn't changed in the latest iRacing build, then that could be something that drivers will have to keep tabs on.
It's going to be huge, and this track is known to eat tires. This track is known to challenge over long runs, and with the new Oval Refresh update, which we really want to get into detail later on in tonight's coverage when we actually see the green flag racing, that will really alter the way drivers drive this Homestead of Miami Speedway as it all changes and as we get everybody through on this long 166 lap race from South Florida. Drivers are entering the starting grid, but before we do that, let's get to the car analysis, Joe, and this is another time that we see the Gen 4 car in action. Boy, it's a lot of fun. I think every time we say it, we describe it as a happy little accident by iRacing, and what a happy accident it was. Over 700 horsepower, this car drives on the rear wheels like a monster. It can rip away from your hands in a moment's notice, and ever since it was added to the sim, it's been a beloved car by so many on the sim. And here Monday Night Racing, in my opinion, operates in a banger fashion. It provides outstanding racing no matter when or when or how it gets on the track.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, having seen these race in my teen years, it feels weird to think of these as kind of historic cars at this stage. But boy, they were a great era. Like you said, a whole lot of power and pretty heavy machines. But all that meant that they're very much drivers' cars. You have to wheel these things. And those who are very good with running smooth are going to reap the dividends on that, reap the benefits of these machines, especially over long stints. So watch out for those that can keep that wheel steady.
And we've seen these races in Gen 4 with M&R usually last in long green flag runs. We've seen over the last couple of weeks when we've had our Gen 4 races, minimal cautions in each. Atlanta last week only had 2 to make green for every single lap after that to the checkered flag with that outstanding finish. Let's head down to the starting grid. Trackside here for tonight's Brian Shock Technology 250, and it is the second pole in Cole Cabrey's Monday Night Racing career. Former winner here last time we ran it in the Summer Series. He puts up a 32-182 to get the pole. Christopher Tate on his outside in row number 1. Jordan Black will start tonight from third, continuing his success of consistency in the series. Corey Deucer lines up on the outside of row number 2 in position number 4. Gary Sexton will be inside the top 5. Adam Cabot will be at the end of row number 3 in position number 6. Chase Cabrey lines it up in P7 in the 39. Colin Fern back in 8th. Bailey Turner in 9th position, finishing second last week at Atlanta. And Michael Fisher rounding up the top 10. Looks like we are going to get the green flag. Pace truck is down. To the left, it's Cabrey and Tate. To the green flag, we're playoff racing from Homestead, Miami. Successful first lap here by Christopher Tate. Second week in a row that Tate has started a race inside the top 5. Had a 4th place starting position at Atlanta just 1 week ago. Second tonight, already taking advantage of Cole Cabrey, who steps right up to the outside, puts his nose right near that right rear quarter panel of the 30. We've got a side-by-side battle for the lead on lap number 2.
Yeah, and he has got a good run here up on that high side coming around. So up to the lead there for the number 51 of Cole Cabrey. Christopher Tate doesn't fight that one too hard. I think it's a little early to try and make this a frantic race. In fact, it looks like he's going to give it up a bit to Jordan Black, who gets underneath him.
Trying to play the conservative route here early, but he's going to force the 14 to be all the way down near that white line in turns 1 and 2. But Jordan Black will get the position. Tate falling back to 3rd. And now here comes Corey Deucer. Adam Cabot next up in the pack. The 04 dives it underneath the Chevrolet of Tate. And he'll make the pass attempt here for a podium spot. So early on, Cole Cabrey being able to take hold of the race lead. And as the sun sets here in Homestead in Miami, we're going to see this track change a lot, Joe. We're seeing a lot of the drivers stay very close to that first seam and that white line at the bottom of the racetrack. But as this race moves forward, on this onboard look from Corey Deucer, you'll see a lot more experimentation out front in the windshield and in the mirror.
In fact, I saw behind us Blake McCandless was going up to the high side. In fact, he still is. There he is right now in that 71, just ripping up by the wall. And look at that. Everybody else is down at the bottom. But it's working out well for him. Look at how much speed he carries down the main straight.
And he started this race back in 17th. He's already up 11 spots since the drop of the green flag. He's making that pass attempt now on Christopher Tate on the inside. You see the onboard look from the North Carolina native and the play-by-play commentator for Flow Racing and the Cars Tour. Kalen is still ripping the top. It looks like Adam Cabot has since followed and took note of exactly what the 71 was doing and say, hey, I can do this game too. I've been doing it all day in practice. Let me use that to my advantage. As up front, Jordan Black gets a big run out of turn 4, diving to the inside. The Tony Stewart Chevrolet needs to be down there. Can't quite get it on the 51 for P1 just yet.
Oof, and almost scraping the wall up there that time as they went by the camera. That was Blake McCandless once again. Just about peeled some paint off the right-hand side of the car, but the battle for the lead rages on And again, it does look like Cabri loves to pinch that car down to the bottom to try and prevent them from getting the speed that they need to try and complete the pass. As they now come on to lap 7, Jordan's going to have to maybe get a little bit creative here.
Jordan's going to dive down low. Cabri's going to give him that space, and the 14 of Jordan Black to the lead. Look at Cabri, an attempted crossover. That will be successful. 5-car breakaway as McCandless gets a huge run on Corey Deucer. He'll follow Adam Cabot to the outside of 3 and 4, and they're making the charge for the lead early here on lap number 7. Cabri could not complete the crossover, so Jordan Black will stay up front, lead a couple of laps here at Homestead in Miami. And what a career it's been for Jordan Black, Joe. Only 2 races. This is his 3rd in his Monday Night Racing career. His last 2 finishes were 2nd at Long Beach in his first start, then a 5th at Atlanta Motor Speedway with the Gen 4. So Jordan Black, despite getting into this series as late as a couple of weeks ago, he has stepped in and fully proved his worth as a driver in the sim. Black already up to the starting position here in 1st, and Cole Cabri having to fight against Adam Cabot. Now Blake McCandless almost 3 wide action for 2nd.
Oof, that was awful tight there. Cabot on the bottom side of things. Thankfully, did not run into Cabri because he looked like he got loose at one point. But yeah, high side certainly seems fast. We have to remember here, Kenneth, that this is kind of a venture into the unknown. Like I said, we had the iRacing build just last Wednesday. It's been less than a week. Even if drivers have been out and practicing this combination, they've had precious little time to really find out what's effective.
Look at Jordan Black taking notice of what McCandless is doing. He went up there to give the 71 a bit of dirty air in the entrance of 3 and 4. McCandless from 17th to 2nd place here in the opening 10 laps of the race. Adam Cabot now having to fight against Cole Cabri. He takes that spot. The 51 dives to the bottom. He'll stay in 4th as the drivers in the 71 and the 17 go side by side. 4-car breakaway here to turn 3. And a great point you make there, Joe, about this oval refresh. It's only been less than a week, maybe 5 or 6 days. Gonna be 6 days tomorrow that this build comes out on the sim. And basically what it was is just a dynamic track update, right? Where you would allow the drivers to change lines based on how the track reacts to temperature, reacts to the amount of cars on the track, and of course, what lines they are running. The grip levels will change in each and every line. Looks like we're already seeing Blake McCandless and Adam Cabot take advantage of all that cool grip at the top that had not been used in the first 11 laps of this race, and using it to their benefit.
They really have. I mean, McCandless has almost been exclusively up there since the start of this race. I think I see a few others that are kind of picking up on that. It's almost going to be a bit like a dirt race. Everybody's going to have to watch each other and see who's doing what, and maybe try to do something different as they both scrape the wall once again. They're going in very, very high, so they're kind of flirting with disaster a little bit. Glad to see though that it's really opening things up. I like what I'm seeing on this latest iRacing build. Also, one note, we've lost Connor Berry. His internet connection, unfortunately, was not good enough, so he's been parked.
Unfortunately, the driver from Menifee, California, winner for the first time in his M&R career at Wild West a couple of weeks ago, going to be out of tonight's race from Homestead. Battle for the lead. McCandless on the top of Jordan Black in turns 1 and 2. McCandless continuing his trudge to the front. Black on the inside. And McCandless going to take that run out of the progressive, banking Blake McCandless to the race lead at lap 13.
Wow, and Jordan Black nowhere near him. Tries to run the bottom once again. Cabot back there in 3rd, trying to hold on as well. And you can see, just watch this down the main straight, so much faster as he flies off the banking. It's downhill off of there, so that gives you a little bit of speed. The higher banking up at the top helps out. And it's just a bit of a longer line as once again, he's getting close to the outside wall. Car looks almost like it's starting to get loose up there. So I wonder if the 71's going to have to maybe try and drift down a little bit.
It's a part of the right rear wearing out, so the car is going to get looser by the lap. And especially only 14 laps in, where McCandless has used the outside every single time throughout. It just appears that the right rear is going to start wearing a lot more, but we'll keep an eye on that. Whether McCandless can cool his tires down and get back up to snuff. He holds on to the race lead for the moment. Jordan Black in 2nd, running the high line. Adam Cabot 3rd, Cole Cabri in 4th, and Corey Deucer making it 2 Speed Factor Ford Fusions inside the top 5. Now, while we've been watching the battle for the race lead develop, we are watching a significant pack build up behind them. This is Raja Karuth and Chase Cabry leading a group of about 5 or 6, and even further down to Christopher Tate, who has dropped all the way to a race worst 12. Here is of the opening 15 laps. You see Bailey Turner on the inside of Presley Sora. And how about defending champion Joe Peak, Corey Heim? First time we've seen him in Season 7 since the Pro 2s at Watkins Glen. It's been a while.
Yeah, and obviously quite good with this combo, with him running up in 10th despite not being in the league or visiting for a couple races now. In fact, let's see what he does, if he's going to go for the high line or midline. Looks like midline to me for that number 11 at this stage. So he's kind of compromising between the two. And it is a very wide track, as you can see. So the drivers can definitely pick out what makes them feel comfortable here and get away with it. But if we start to get some 3 wide, don't forget the high power of these cars. As you mentioned, the right rear tending to want to go away. They'll get loose. If you ride the high side, you're going to find yourself vulnerable to others below you, losing grip and maybe kind of sliding up into you.
And we saw a lot of those close calls at Atlanta, right? At a turn 2, a driver running the very outside wall. He smacks it, he tries to turn left to get out of it, or the car just steps out of line, and then there's a car underneath. You could result in big contact and create our first caution of the night. So far, that has not been the case. Drivers are still experimenting with what they like and what they don't. There's the Marietta, Georgia native of Corey Heim, revisiting the track that he won the championship at back in Season 6. Presley Sora, speaking of which, just hit the outside wall. He'll get pressured by Bailey Turner, who, Joe, suffered absolute heartbreak last week at Atlanta Motor Speedway. He understood exactly what was going to happen when he saw Adam Cabot on fresher tires approaching him in the waning laps. Those two are friends, those two are teammates. They work together so well on the racetrack cohesively that they basically know each other by the back of their hands. And Turner raced well with Cabot, put all that he could out there with his saving strategy, and unfortunately could not grab his first career Monday night racing win. But in the playoffs this season, Joe, especially with a performance like that 1 week ago, you pair the Gen 4 cars, same cars last week with a different track, and another 1.5 miler. It's something that Turner is very good at in the sim, something that he's definitely shown to the rest of the competition, and no doubt that Turner can be able to use that momentum even with the race loss last week, push forward in tonight's race, and set himself nicely in the playoffs in the first round.
And that's what's interesting about this format, because with it kind of jumping around between cars, like you said, you're going to see drivers who are a little bit stronger in certain cars, either because they just kind of click with them, or familiarity is huge. Once you start to understand how a car behaves, that makes adapting to a new track that much easier. It's big slide there coming off the corner. I think that was the likes of Adam Cabot there that was trying to gather it up. He's going to continue to run the bottom side here underneath Jordan Black. But that kind of goes to what I was talking about. If the car gets loose, pinched to the bottom, if you're running out of grip, you're going to find yourself having to not only be careful not to spin yourself out, but run into that car up on the top.
You make a great point there. Just being a best at the combo, especially the Gen 4 cars, one that's really hard to drive. As Adam Cabot gets loose underneath Jordan Black in that potential fight for second place. Bailey Turner, in the 3 Gen 4 races we've run over the regular season, his average finish is 3.33, and then you add just a line on top of that because it just continues from there on the average. His positioning with these Gen 4 cars, especially here at these tracks, they definitely stack up well consistently. And for Turner in his little playoff group with Colin Fern, Gary Sexton, and James Bigford, it's already a good start knowing his performance and his track record with the Gen 4s. On board look with Cabot, who is still trying to maneuver the inside lane on Jordan Black. And we've noticed too, Joe, that the 14 running the bottom in the first couple of laps, as soon as he noticed Blake McCandless run the wall, he's been up there. It seems like it's kept his speed intact, and while the 17 has migrated to the inside, his plan to get around the 14 for second hasn't all very well been that fruitful.
I think adaptability is going to be a big word tonight. Drivers are going to have to watch, like I said, what others are doing and try to be able to run different lines. If you're not comfortable doing that, you're not going anywhere tonight. You need to be able to run low, run high, run mid, whatever is fastest in the moment.
So you watch the 17 go right back under the 14, Home Depot Chevrolet. They're bringing in the 51 of Cole Cabry, who sort of got left for dust in the opening stint of the race. Now at lap 24, he's starting to claw back in this thing. Now, we mentioned McCandless being the biggest mover tonight, plus 16 after starting in 17th. Well, now Brian Vargas is second on that list, 24th to start this race. And there he is, the La Mirada, California native, running in position number 12, just in front of the number 2 Robbie Lyons, the Seminole, Florida native. Now for Vargas, he's in his own group with the likes of Connor Berry, who just disconnected, Chase Cabry, who's ahead of him in position number 5, and then Joey Padgett, who currently runs behind him 2 spots in 14th. Big pickup here by Vargas, Joe, who we know is a pretty clutch driver when you get down to the Monday Night Racing playoffs, and Vargas already using his skill set to get up here, and he's got a decent gap to Bailey Turner at around 0.7 of a second, but big moves here by Vargas tonight.
Yeah, and so far, the switching up to that high side seems to be working pretty well, but as he's going to scrape the wall a little bit, just scrub some of that speed off, unfortunately. Now he's under threat from Lyons and Padgett down below, but he'll get the nice shot off of turn 2 there, so he'll stay safe. We talked about it earlier. Highline is known for chewing up the tires a little bit more. Now, it might be different tonight, but if history is anything to go by, is another smack of the wall, this time for Lyons, slows him down. If history is anything to go by, then these drivers running up on the high side might start to fall back as things carry on and they use too much of their rubber, and those who are running the bottom will start to push forward. We don't know yet, though, and we're not to the pit stops yet.
And also, too, with this oval refresh, Joe, if everyone's running the top, that line is going to get slower by the lap. So you're going to start feeling the grip levels lower every single time you run the top. And that's why you're seeing other drivers go back to the bottom, because they're saying, hey, we're running the top a little too much. Everyone in this field is going up here. As soon as the grip levels start to lower up at the top of the progressive banking, we need to go back down to the 18 degrees at the bottom, get a piece of that grip, and then go back up when necessary. And it's working for second place Cole Cabry, who won in this combo in the Summer Series earlier this year. Cole Cabry knows a thing or two about getting good race results with these Gen 4 cars, and specifically at Homestead at Miami Speedway. And now he darts to the inside of the NASCAR on NBC Dodge Intrepid. Cole Cabry trying to fight back for the lead, can't quite get it at a turn 4, but he's there.
Yeah, and this is kind of a home track for him here, coming from Florida, so this is going to be important for him to try and seal another victory. He gets underneath McCandless, but watch McCandless come back at him off the turn, just have a little bit more speed, as we couldn't quite see him there on the right-hand side. Now as we jump off to the TV cameras, he just had a nose ahead in that 71.
And a big advantage on the last lap by for Cole Cabry, 34.136 for the 51. McCandless setting a 34.338. Now the 71 will get a monstrous run out of turn 4, won't do anything with it. He'll stay behind the speed factor fusion. He'll go right back up to the top. That's been the loyal line for McCandless. It appears all race long as of lap 30. Adam Cabot has been experimenting a little more. He's been up top, he's been in the middle, now he's resurged back to the bottom. And this top 3 is broken away from everybody else. Looks like Jordan Black has severely fallen off as he'll get to the clutches of Chase Cabry, Corey Heim, Raza Ruth, and even then a bit of Presley Sora in the 98, who has stepped into 8th place. That second pack slowly building up. Side by side there, here for position number 4, Jordan Black under fire from Chase Cabry.
And Adam Cabot now as well getting into it, so things are starting to change around. I think if you're Blake McCandless, you need to give up the ghost on that high line, because he's moving backwards pretty quickly at this stage. Honestly, I'm kind of surprised that it's on the extremes. Drivers are either up all the way up against the wall or right down to that white line. I kind of wonder if we'll see somebody maybe try to go just a lane off the wall to see if it'll still give them the shot off the corner, but have a little more grip.
It's certainly interesting to see if anyone is really going to employ that strategy, but you're right. We're either seeing drivers at the bottom or the very top. Maybe the only driver I'm thinking about who's running the middle is Raja Karu. He's really the only one that's staying near that first seam, maybe experimenting a bit higher, especially when he was in the battle with Presley Sora, Christopher Tate and company, but he's really the only one in between both worlds. Not fully at the bottom, not fully at the top. Here he gets a little closer to that white line as he follows the number 11 of Corey Heim. Raja Karuth started tonight in position number 11, up 4, up to 7th place. So really good movement here for Raja Karuth early on in tonight's Brian Shock Technology 250, and Jordan Black continues on the back foot. I can imagine, Joe, that running that high line with McCandless could not keep up on his set of Goodyear Eagles, and he's dropped off latter half of the top 10. Presley Sora, Bailey Turner, Christopher Tate might just get a bit of the crumbs left on car number 14.
Yeah, it looks like there's just not the pace still in that car, but we haven't had any cautions yet either. So you can't really dive in at this stage. You got to hang tight until we get the opportunity with a yellow, or you get to the end of your planned stint out there, because yes, you will get the undercut, but then you're going to be vulnerable to those who stayed out. And on top of it, well, if we get that yellow, then you're going to be trapped a lap down.
We haven't seen a yellow so far tonight. It did take us basically lap one before turn one last week at Atlanta to find ourselves under our first yellow. Then Michael Fisher went around and gathered the second yellow of the race before we went green all the way throughout. We should expect green flag pit stops to come right into the view if we stay green. And with the 100% fuel we have here in tonight's race, we are going to go a little longer than we expect with 75% fuel that we've been normally seeing over the season. But nonetheless, we should expect maybe lap 55, lap 60 could be the range for those up front, maybe those in the middle of the pack to come down for pit road. Now, we talked about all of the brackets, all the groups that the drivers are faced with, the drivers they have to think about they're going against when they're running for a Monday Night Racing title this season. There's a look on board with Presley Sora, who currently resides in Group D. Him, Joshua Slate, Michael Fisher, and Alex Monteferrante are in the group with him. So far, Sora has the upper hand. Josh Slate is back in 22nd. Monteferrante is only in 21st. And the only other driver in that group, Michael Fisher, well, so far, he's back in 15th. So a really good start for Presley Sora as he fights away from Bailey Turner and from Joshua Black in the number 14. And it can definitely tell you, Joe, that in this playoff format, 3 races where you only have to beat 3 other drivers, if you're a guy like Sora, you're kind of just kicking your feet back and relaxing quite a bit. You know those guys having a more of a tough time here from Homestead Miami Speedway. And if wherever you're sitting right now in position 7, certainly is working out for you.
Absolutely, and so far here, it does look like Presley Sora is really just charging forward now up to that 7th spot, but it's about 2.3 up to Raja Karuth, so it's going to be a little harder to try and run down that number 13 who we were watching a little bit ago. In fact, you can see just behind Presley here, Bailey Turner kind of following in his footsteps, shadowing him, saying, all right, if you're quick, I'm going to do what you do and see if that'll tow me along, or I'll be proven wrong. He's going to jump to the bottom now.
So we get to the inside. Turner against Sora here at the exit of turn 2. They're going to bring in Christopher Tate, who was somewhat on the back foot early on in this race, but just starting to plateau a bit, staying inside the top 10. Turner getting to the corner panel of Sora, not going to be able to get there here in turn 3. He'll dive right back to the bottom and make this attempted pass. Looks like it will be almost complete, but Sora remains up top. He'll fight back, and the Cambridge City, Indiana native going to hold on to P8. Looks like we've got 1 driver, now make it 2 entering pit road. Christopher Tate, Robbie Lyons, they're bringing in a 3rd. That's Matt Stolnick, Joe, so our first round of stops, lap 39.
That's surprisingly early, but maybe they figure there's something in it here to try and get those fresh tires with the green flag racing to get themselves an advantage that they wouldn't have otherwise. As Tate finds his pit stall critically, that's the big thing, making sure that you hit your marks here coming in so that you don't have to back up, or else you're going to lose precious time here under green. A little bit of blinking for him. Hopefully that'll clear up, because we haven't had any problems besides Connor Berry with that up till now. And clean stop for Chris. He's in and he's out.
And Christopher Tate for 3F Racing coming out of pit road. Next driver in is Jordan Black at number 14. Looks like he has found his way to pit road. Common thread in the last 2 laps, we're seeing a lot of guys, Joe, who have definitely deteriorated their tires coming in early here at lap 40, but this should kick off the full-time strategy of those who are going to come in on this undercut. Looks like, for the most part, nobody else is going to come in. Corey Deucer in the 04 is going to hop on the binders. He'll enter pit road. Same deal with Gary Sexton, 2 drivers running in the mid-pack.
And to give you an idea, when we started this race, they were doing, and I'm talking about guys like Jordan Black, about 32.5s. Before he pit, he was doing 35 flaps. That's 2.5 seconds difference. So this might actually be a good call on their part. The problem is, with such a steep drop-off, there's always that trade-off. You're now going to have the older tires when those who outweight you come back out. So they're going to be running you back down.
And here come the Cabries. Cole, the race leader, Chase back inside the top 5. He's in. Looks like Blake McCandless, who was sort of falling through the top 5, staying up top. He's going to hop on the binders, get to his pit stall. Largest batch of cars we see enter pit road all at once. Corey Deucer and Gary Sexton, they're going to come out. More drivers are in, though. Joey Padgett involved in that group. Looks like that is the 4. Brett Baldeck, who has come in. Some others, there's Mark Rabilis in the number 99 coming in, and there is Cole Cabry coming out. Corey Heim, Raja Karuth are coming in from 2nd and 3rd on the racetrack. So it looks like they will leave Adam Cabot in the race lead. I guess at lap 43, a bit earlier than I would expect, Joe, with the fuel number that we had tonight. It appears it's operating like 75%. This seems to be the optimal strategy for everyone in the field.
Exactly. It might be that it's just simply tire limited tonight, and drivers feel like it is quicker to come in a little bit early with that one. Now, Christopher Tate came out behind Cole Cabry. So Cole pitted early enough that he wasn't jumped by Christopher and is still our net leader under pit stops.
Could be a good spot. Right now, he'll hold on to the position over Heim, who's just getting out of pit road, and then everybody else who still needs to cycle. Presley Sora has made his way onto pit road as there's Chase Cabry trying to make this pass here on the 30 of Christopher Tate entering turn 3. Looks like he'll have the advantage. And they're still on the route to unlap themselves from the race leader, Adam Cabot, who hops on the brakes, gets to that 45-mile-an-hour pit road speed limit. The Atlas Hair Care Products Chevrolet comes in, and last week's winner in Cabot is in for his service. So is Bailey Turner, Colin Fern, DJ Cummings, Brandon Houff among those that are going to stay out in the rest of the main pack. So it looks like for Cabot, just took 45 laps for him to call it quits on his green flag stint. And trying to go 2 in a row here in Monday Night Racing for Season 7. He hops in, looks like 4 tires and fuel.
Fuel for himself, too. Taking a little bit of a sip. This is a good opportunity for that, especially with this not being like Daytona or Talladega, where you've got those long back stretches where you can take the time and maybe get some refreshment if you need. Here, it isn't frantic. It's not Bristol, but you certainly won't have as much time to try and do that. If he needed that, that was probably a big relief for him as he returns. Cole Cabry, still our leader on the pit stops. In fact, he's ahead of Chase by 2.5 seconds. What green flag stops usually do here, Kenneth, is it spreads the field out.
Yeah, significantly it does. And Atlanta proved the same thing, where we saw basically everybody scurry away from each other as soon as the green flag strategy kicked in. So here at lap number 46, we're seeing that in full swing. So the rest of the main pack who stayed out comes in. Jordan Buster among those, Brandon Brown, DJ Cummings in the E-NASCAR machine. They're in, which leaves Colin Fern, Brandon Houff, and Ford Martin as the top 3 to stay out. Looks like Houff in his Esports Dodge has come in, leaving the 96 and the 07 to come in for their service before we hand over the lead back to Cole Cabry in the 51. Now, this is great for Cole Cabry because, number one, of course, he's looking for a win to keep his momentum high as he pushes forward in his respective group, which has a lot of great drivers in it. Corey Deucer, of course, Monin Rahman, who came in as the surprise number 16 seed, and then the best driver we've seen all season by far in Adam Cabot. So for Cole Cabry, who's got the experience, who's got the winning record here at Homestead of Miami with these Gen 4 cars, nice to see that he has pretty much come out of this strategy full circle back to the front where he started this race.
Yeah, and I think Cole is going to be taking the lead back the hard way because Ford Martin just let him through. In fact, I think he may have brushed the wall a little bit down the main straight to do so. Ford is still not pitted. He's trying to hang tough out there, but he's going to have to give a bunch away. And since it's not looking likely for a caution here, I think this Hail Mary just isn't working out.
The 07 is going to lose a lot more time than he is going to gain on fresh tires. He is going to have maybe 6 to 5 lap fresher tires than everybody else as he comes in right in front of Chase Cabry. But again, he's going to lose so much track position that it is going to be nearly impossible. Man, almost did the Kyle Larson there. Almost got into the pit road barrels, locked it up in enough time. Ford Martin is in.
So now he finally is going to take his service. Interesting to note that Blake McCandless, who was running the same strategy as Cole Cabry. He's about 2.5 seconds behind, so he hasn't lost too much. I think some of that is going to be down to that first stint where we saw him start to lose out a little bit towards the end. But he's definitely still in contention on this one. You can see him up the road, but he's going to have to start picking up the pace.
Oh, look at Christopher Tate in the background get way sideways out of turn 4. Saw that with basically the near end of my eye. He was fighting with Raja Karuth for that position, and Tate goes way out of shape. Almost about let it rip away from his hands. Kept it together. He's in a fight with Michael Fisher for 6th. That was largely scary for the 30.
Yeah, like I said, these cars are a handful. There's so much power underneath them, and there's just not a lot to help you around the track. It's not like the current generation of NASCAR cars that has the downforce with the diffuser and whatnot. There's nothing underneath it to help it stick to the track. It's just basically all grunt power in these cars, and if you abuse that, you're going to pay for it dearly.
So Tate will drop back to as far as 7th here. Christopher Tate looks like Adam Cabot, Jordan Black among those that'll create a 4-car pack around the latter half of the top 10. And Cabot does have fresher tires than these drivers by about 6 or 7 laps, so it should easily take care of them, but it's just all about getting away from the traffic without encountering any trouble. Now, he has definitely better tires, 2 or so laps better than the race leaders, who just crossed the lap 10 on their strategy. But Joe, is the distance too much for Cabot to overcome on his fresh set of Goodyear Eagles? Because he'll run, and as this field just continues to thin out, the main group at the top, Cabry, McCandless, and then Chase Cabry, they'll stay where they're at. Cabot is going to have to play big catch-up, kind of wear out his tires a little more if he's not careful.
Exactly. Also, some really bad news for fans of Ford Martin. Not only did he try and hold out and pit last, he sped on his way into the pits. He's serving a penalty right now.
He's in for 2 minutes, 5 seconds and counting. So there's the Mach 10 Digital Chevrolet in, dropping back to 31st, 3 laps down. He is the last car on the racetrack as it stands, if you don't consider Connor Berry's DNF from the beginning of the race. So Ford Martin getting docked early in this race, lap 53, could rebound, but the multiple laps he has fallen down, going to be 4 as soon as Cole Cabry crosses the start-finish line. Not looking good for the Nashville, Tennessee native. Here is Corey Heim back to work here in 4th after starting 15th tonight. And of course took the championship in a way that a lot of people were not expecting. Adam Cabot had dominated that race, led 105 laps in last season's season finale here at Homestead. But Heim was hanging in there until a caution came out. The 11 made the use of the last restarts with 2 laps to go and was able to hold off the rest of the field and get his first career Monday Night Racing Championship. Here he is fighting with the 39 of Chase Cabry, but really struggled. I think bottled off with the apron there out of turn 4. Gonna have to try again.
Yeah, and like I said, adaptability, get creative, try and watch what everybody else is doing. If you need to follow them, follow them. If you find yourself stuck like this, then you're going to have to start exploring. You're going to have to search around and see if there is a line that's better than what they're doing. If there isn't, well, I mean, sometimes you just got to sit tight and wait for something to develop. But right now, the 11 just looks a little bit stuck here, unable to really do much. They are gaining, I think, a bit on Blake McCandless, though, who's still stuck to that high line.
Still loyal up there. His last lap, though, at a 33.639. Everybody else a 10th or better on their respective laps. And to give credit to Cabry and for Heim here in 3rd and 4th, their laps 33.4 for Cabry, and then for Heim a 33.383. So these drivers way faster than McCandless, who has manned the top basically all race long. I'm not sure whether he's trying to prove a point here, Joe, on whether running the high line the entire time here at Homestead will be beneficiary or not with the new oval refresh, but he is losing time, and now Corey Heim finds a way to get underneath Chase Cabry for 3rd.
If you can just drift in front of him, I'd be my advice, just kind of let it drift up a lane off the bottom, because that's where he was running before. But no, he likes it and he makes it work. So I'm going to eat my words there. Corey Heim now up into 3rd place. I expect Blake McCandless to get gobbled up here.
71's going to stay up there. He's got no choice. Basically, he's definitely made his bet up until this point. Looks like Heim down there. He'll make the position. Chase Cabry following suit in that speed factor Ford Fusion. McCandless will have a run out of turn 4, but he has not decided to cross anyone over. This is a really interesting strategy here by McCandless, Joe, and I'm not sure whether he's doing this just fully on purpose or not. he remains up top, and I don't think I've seen him in any other lane since basically the drop of the green flag.
Same here. Yeah, I mean, he's doing something. He's trying to prove something, or he knows something that we don't. It's kind of a bit of a mystery right now, but he's hanging tough with it. Maybe he'll switch it around later on in the race and kind of surprise everybody. Who knows? But it just isn't working for him, so I don't know what exactly is going on in his mind that he wants to try and stick so hard to this high line. And we're seeing those lights start to come on and get brighter and brighter as now Blake has actually hit the wall.
Breaking point there for McCandless, and gave up that fight with Chase Cabry, and looming in the distance, Raja Caruth into 13th. So is Adam Cabot, about a second and a 10th behind the 13 car. So this 71 is getting swarmed easily by the field, who's staying close to the bottom end of the racetrack. Now, the track temp is cooling down. It's at 84 right now, and the sun is setting here in South Florida, so we should expect near the end of this race that over the next 100 laps or so, we're going to be in complete darkness here in Florida. We're going to have the lights on at Homestead of Miami. Looks like for Blake McCandless, maybe that could be good news or bad news, depending on how this track adapts to the race. But so far, inside line remains king. And here comes the Sunoco Chevrolet Camaro of Raja Caruth, returning after a little while of absence. Has run a couple of starts in Season 7, running well here tonight inside the top 5.
Yeah, up 6 from where he began this race, so a pretty healthy gain. McCandless had gained a lot. In fact, he's 13 up right now, and it's just about to be 12 now as he gets passed by Raja Caruth and lets him go. Raja actually going to just slide right up in front of him as soon as he gets that clear, and now he sets his sights on Chase in the 39.
Raja is looking for his first win in a very long time in Monday Night Racing. You can date back to Season 4, the final race of the season in early February with the Xfinity cars at Auto Club. That's the season that Adam Cabot won the series championship for the first time, but Caruth was able to take that win away, and it has been a very long time since we have seen this 13 car get back into the winner's circle. Now, he hasn't been exactly full-time. He's been in and out here every week or so. His last start in the series was at Long Beach with the Porsche GT4s, where he came home in 30th after a pretty tough race there in Long Beach, California. But tonight with the Gen 4s, way different story. This is Caruth's background, his wheelhouse, if you will. The NASCAR Truck Series driver for GMS Racing will try and slide up here on Chase Cabry and enter the top 3 for the first time tonight.
Yeah, getting awful close there to Cabry, and I have a feeling that the 39's probably not going to fight this one too hard. If the 13 gets a run, I wonder if he'll just kind of let him go and maybe take some notes as he watches what his line is doing. Raja going to get up to the high side all the way to the outside. Now, much like in real life, you can actually kind of ride the air bubble off of that wall there to help you try and stay out of it. As we've seen with a few drivers, it doesn't completely hold you off of it, so you do have to be careful. But it gives you a bit of a cushion, if you will, and there you go. Raja now right to the bumper of the 39.
He's going to get their 3-car pack here from 2nd to 4th as Cole Cabry has pulled away to a margin of 3.3 seconds. Has not looked back to 51, oh so strong here at Homestead of Miami. Well, just a reminder that coverage of the Monday Night Racing Pro Series is brought to you by Mach 10 Digital, your partner for stunning video production and digital marketing solutions. From concept to creation, they bring your vision to life with precision and creativity. Elevate your brand with captivating visuals and impactful messaging, from weddings to real estate videography. Contact them today at mach10digital.com for digital excellence. Mach 10 Digital, where innovation meets creativity. Well, here's the battle for 5th. Joe Peak, Blake McCandless still running the top side, and there goes through the 17 of Adam Cabot, who is certainly making history in Season 7. It's the first time that he's ever won more than one race in a Monday Night Racing campaign, which is surprising considering his strength week in and week out, even month in and month out. He's won 3 races so far in the regular season, his most recent last week at Atlanta Motor Speedway, so Adam Cabot has certainly been on fire. Homestead also, no surprise that he's doing well as he takes this position away from the North Carolina native of McCandless.
Drops back to the bottom, so even though McCandless is continuing to ride the top, he's going to see if he can hug that white line and be faster. It does look like it has definitely very much moved towards that bottom line being the place to be for most of these drivers. We were talking earlier about Ryan Vargas making a lot of progress. He still is. He's just passed Will Rogers, as you see right now on screen, down into 1 and 2. He's up 11 and has some of the younger-ish tires compared to some of his rivals. Colin Fern, I think, has the youngest tires of anybody and has been slowly picking them up and putting them down, but still, nonetheless, he has been a lot quicker than those ahead of him.
Not breezing through the traffic per se, but he's still gaining a lot on them, and there's a pretty decent pack that's building right in front of him with the likes of Corey Juicer, Bailey Turner, Michael Fisher, those hanging around 10 through 12, but Vargas not quite able to beat Rogers here at a turn 4, and he stays up top. Now, we were mentioning the storyline, Joe, all night long about McCandless being the only one in the first main pack, top 5 or so, to run the top and not go his way. Well, you just have some more drivers in this group that are going up there. Bailey Turner, you look at drivers like Jordan Black, Presley Sora, just all experimenting with the top, seeing what exactly works and doesn't work for them.
Yeah, but from what we've been seeing, I'm not sure that it's the place to be quite yet. Maybe middle line could be something that'll give you a little bit of an extra boost at this stage, but we're approaching the halfway mark of this race. Still haven't had a single caution, so you kind of have to buckle in and know that this is what you've got to deal with. It will cool down the track if we go to yellow, but you can't bet on it at this stage. You have to kind of race the race that you've been presented and live in the present.
Can't bet on it like Zac Efron in High School Musical 2. Not a great one to make. There's Martin Pillis into the outside wall. That was right in front of Ryan Vargas for 14th, and bringing in the 83, Joey Padgett, as Vargas snags the outside wall in turn 1. Vargas on the back foot here. Looks like his tires are not agreeing with him at the moment.
And Rebellious getting out of the way of everybody in a very dramatic fashion there down to the bottom, but thankfully didn't wreck the car. You got to be careful of that because he did that close to the entry of the corner. Sometimes if you do that and you come in too shallow, as steep as this banking is, you can't just save it no matter what you do.
And also too, with these Gen 4 cars, I mean, similar build to the Arca Menard series Chevrolets that are on iRacing. If you get into the wall, you're getting sucked up there. There's no doubt about it. You're going to be up there until you can just fully turn that wheel to the left. Look at Vargas fighting the steering wheel out of the corner as he goes against Joey Padgett, that Jack Daniels car, to the inside of turn 3. But you get up to that safer barrier, you're going to be stuck there for a little while, and it's going to take you a pretty big effort to get out of the wall. A lot of times that could create the crashes that we often see with these cars and with the Arca Menard series Chevrolets. It's just something you got to keep in mind. And for Vargas, already stepping out as he runs the top side, that right rear is really screaming for grip, as everybody else who was running the top near him, they have started to migrate back to the inside as a big battle develops. For 7th on back, Presley Soar, Christopher Tate going at it, and here's Corey Heim finding himself under pressure. Chase Cabry building up a run here.
Yeah, the Cabrys certainly seem to have a good handle on this track. He's been kind of threatening him for a while now, and he's going to try the high side to do so. You mentioned the over-under before. Well, I think that's what we're seeing right here. Just getting himself the speed down the straights, hoping that he can get to the inside potentially, but didn't have enough of a run that time through. He's closer, but this time he's riding the bottom.
Stay down there, look at the sideways action for the 39. Just lost them all that time on the 11. And all the while, they have remained 3.3 seconds back to Cole Cabry. What a strategy he employed. He's got older tires than a good amount of the drivers behind him, but we mentioned, Joe, and you talked about it too, the distance that grows when you get into green flag stop territory. Well, Cole has made the most of the situation, and even despite having worse tires than those around him and behind him, second on back, as soon as the laps start to tick in, you've got enough distance to work with that the wiggle room just basically helps you plateau and stay in the race lead. Now, it is decreasing a bit, 3.2 around the last time by for Corey Heim and Chase Cabry that are catching up, but Cole has a lot to work with here heading into the second round of green flag stops.
You know, I'll often say it's not the driver who's fastest over one lap. It's the driver who's fastest over all the laps. And I wonder if Cole has been doing quite a bit of tire management. Now, he does have it a little bit easier because he's out in the lead and has been for much of the race. It's easier to save the tires when you do that. You're not dealing with the dirty air, but you still have to drive it right. And I am seeing a little bit of sliding from him right now, but I get the sense that keeping the pace up long term is going to be a lot about just being nice and smooth. Yeah, you can see, yes, he's counter steering a little bit, but compare that to what the onboard we saw was before, and there's not these jerky movements trying to keep the car pointed the right way.
So smooth. See right there to the left, then bringing it back to the right. He's counter steering, of course, but it's just minimal. And he's Corey Heim and Chase Cabre, they have caught up. Looks like they've started to employ the 51 strategy of just hugging that white line at the bottom of the racetrack. They're within 3 seconds. They might just break the 2-second barrier. They might. 2.9 it was just a couple of seconds ago, as here is Adam Cabot working his way towards Raja Caruth. They both have gotten by Blake McCandless, who has dropped back to P6. Him running the top side has awarded him a 34.6 on lap time. Everybody around him either 2/10 or quicker as Cabot runs the bottom. Caruth up to the top. The 17 looks at the pass for 4th, and he's got it for the moment. 13's going to fight back.
Yeah, Caruth shoots off a turn 4 there, and he's got much better momentum. Will he stay up to the high side? He will, but now he's being boxed in a little bit. That's Devin Hendry, who is a lapped car in front of him. That could hurt his pace. He cuts back down. I think he kind of knew that high line was not going to work this time with that car in front of him.
77 of Henry is going to look to be the lucky dog if we get a caution flag. 27 cars currently on the lead lap, actually 26 at this moment in time. But the 17 goes under, so does Caruth. No problems there for lap traffic. They have fallen short of Cabre and Heim, who have somewhat pulled away, and they're within 3.1 seconds of the race leader. Cabre in the 39 looks up to the second lane, further up on that first seam here in turns 1 and 2. Got a bit of a run on the 11, but just could not make it happen. And what a turnaround for the season, Joe. It's been for the 39 of Cabre. We've harped on it for multiple moments throughout the season that he began it basically on a struggle bus. He could not finish well, just did not find the luck nor the finishes that he probably would deserve throughout the races. But then as of the last couple of weeks of the regular season, that's when he fully locked in, and that's where the results have shown up. Top 5 finishes, top 10 runs, and here with this Gen 4 car tonight, top 3 certainly working out for the 39 and looking to get back to the championship 4 like he was a season ago.
Yeah, so Chase has got himself a little bit of a carrot dangled in front of him right now with Corey, but I kind of expected him to maybe be a little bit quicker, honestly, and be able to try and get up on him. We'll see what the 39 can do with this, as it sounds like we got a couple of cars in.
We do, and 2 of them are Speed Factor Ford Fusions. One of them, the 32 of Michael Fisher. The other, Alex Monteferrante, in the number 97. And while we saw a differing strategy at Atlanta last week, where basically all of the Speed Factor cars came in around the same time, looks like that is not the case. They are splitting, depending on where they're at. Christopher Tate in the 30 for 3F Racing. He's going to come in. That's going to be the second stall here for the 30. He comes in for fresh tires and fuel. There's Corey Deucer right behind him, also getting a stop. So this has officially kicked off the second round of green flag stops. And Joe, I gotta wonder exactly where everybody at the front will come in. We saw Adam Cabot come in later. A lot of other guys just undercutted him. Does that change this time around?
I think not. I think it's going to be the same as what we saw before, where you kind of want to take the middle road on it. You don't want to try and undercut the drivers and take the older tires, but you don't want to wait too long. So now that we see a couple come in, I'd say wait 1, maybe 2 laps, pit in, and then chase them back down.
So there's the 04 of Corey Deucer, who comes in. And also a note, playoff drivers highlighted by the red banners and spoilers on their Gen 4 cars. So you're watching here with Chase Cabre and the likes of Adam Cabot. They've got red on their windshield banners and their spoilers, just to let you know they are running for the Monday Night Racing title, when you saw that a bit earlier with the 04 of Corey Deucer as well. There come the top 2 and 3. They're not going to come in. Neither is Adam Cabot. It appears we don't have many that are going to enter the pit road. Looks like Blake McCandless, driver in P6, hops on the brakes. He gets away from the top side, slides it a bit, entering pit lane, but he's in regardless.
as long as you make it in, it's any landing you could walk away from, right? So he's going to put some fresh ones on, get back out there. Now, what I'm curious about is he going to continue to run all the way up against the wall in this last stint, or is he maybe going to change it up now? Well, I guess not the last stint. It's going to be one more stop from here that they do have, but I mean, he's been committed to it up till now, but maybe he's just going for the first half of the race up at the top and maybe switch it around for the second half of the race at the bottom as we see a few more drivers down and in.
Keep an eye out for that. The strategy for the 71 is a bulk of the leaders come in. We saw Ryan Vargas among those that came in a lap before. There's Corey Heim. Of course, Cole Cabry, the leader. Adam Cabot, Raja Caruth, all of them entering pit road for the second time this evening. Chase Cabry has elected to stay out, but he's going to hop on the brakes. He'll enter this very tough pit entry at Homestead, Miami. And Corey Heim coming out right in front of Adam Cabot, but not being able to fully break away from the 51 of Cole Cabry. Will lead him out of the lane. We'll see exactly how he fares in this run for net race lead. Presley Sora's going to stay out this time by, and Joe, I mean, it's such a tough entry when you get into here at Homestead Miami Speedway. It's much like Atlanta. You have to hop on the brakes. You're turning left. It's a really, really precarious entry to the point where, you know, that car can easily step out. Here at Homestead, we've seen the differences. Speeding penalties handed out. You name it, as there's Chase Cabry, leader, coming on in.
Yeah, it's honestly an interesting one because as you'll watch, they have to take that pit exit lane there that's down in the grass in the infield. But you don't have to do that on the way in. Like you said, you have to come in very, very fast, and you really need to have a well-balanced car, which is going to be difficult on old tires, frankly. But so far, we haven't seen any major incidents on that, but I wouldn't bet on it. Interesting to note that Cole actually returned on the lead lap when he pitted, which is kind of impressive, honestly.
This shows you how fast he is, right? And everybody else too. Chase, Corey Heim, Roger Group, all of them came out in the lead lap. None of them fell short of lap down. Also a testament to the leaders really not staying out that long, especially with Chase, who came in basically the lap right after. But it's Presley Sora at the front with 79 laps to go here in the Brian Shock Technology 250 from Homestead Miami Speedway. More playoff racing on the other side here on Podium Esports.
Mach 10. Let's give Mach 10.
You're cleared for takeoff.
Welcome back to Homestead at Miami Speedway. There's a look at current race leader Colin Fern coming down pit road. That will cycle out to the leader to Cole Cabry in the 51 who leads him here with 73 laps to go. Welcome back to our coverage of the Monday Night Racing Pro Series presented by Mach 10 Digital. Kenneth Bueno, Joe Peak with you here in the booth. Eddie Smith, our producer tonight, using cameras provided by Dougie Beard. Joe, 8 letters to describe this race so far, and that is STRATEGY. It's been all about strategy so far. Green flag runs have dominated the race, and so has Cole Cabry. He is yet to be shaken. He's 1.2 seconds over Corey Heim. Not the largest gap we've seen between those two, but Cabry remains out front, just putting the foot on the rest of the field for the moment at halfway.
I'm impressed you spelled that out correctly on the fly there. But yeah, Cole with about a second gap over Corey is sitting pretty well right now. The thing we'll have to watch is those lap times between them, which look relatively close, relatively comparative. So at this stage, I'm not expecting Corey to reel him in all that quickly. He has a lot of race left to go. We just passed the halfway mark not that long ago. So he doesn't have to feel like he needs to catch him up at this stage. But I think this kind of touches on what I said before. If we think that Cole is managing tires, Corey, I think, needs to as well. Because if we do actually wind up getting that caution, that will pay dividends for the 11. And if we don't, then, well, at least he'll have something to try and push at the end to see if he can catch up to Cole.
And you're seeing the similar lines between those two on this far shot. You barely see the 11 in it, but he is running the very same line that Cole Cabry is, if not a couple inches further to that white line on the inside. You'll look at it here on board with the Marietta, Georgia native, the 3-time Truck Series winner this season. You see him right down to that white line. Cole Cabry right up ahead is doing the exact same thing, and they're putting in mirror image laps at around 33/4 for each of them. It's fluctuating between each and who's faster lap by lap, but for sure here, Joe, you have a great point. They're doing the same exact strategy, and you can even tailor that to Adam Cabot too, who's running the very bottom, and it's been working for him. He's been able to keep pace with Corey Heim here, might follow him to the leader.
Yeah, I was kind of wondering about that too, with the 17 only being back by about half a second on Corey. Could be a bit of an issue for Cabot to start to rock up there and maybe make himself a hassle. But he doesn't want to fight him too hard. I'm talking about Adam fighting Corey, because like I said, if you got to manage tires, if you got to think about long-term with these green flag runs, he needs a decisive move to get by the 11 if he catches him, so that he doesn't lose time and doesn't waste the rubber underneath him and can save something to try and run down the 51.
That's all you need too, right? Is enough grip near the end of this long run, if it goes green, to then have that last pit stop be the money stop, and then all the time that you would gain over the end of the last stint will help you propel forward in that run to the end of the race. Obviously, you can't predict exactly what's going to happen, but if we follow the trends we've seen all night long, green flag strategy has been the name of the game. So watch for the 17 and the 11 to maybe push a little bit later on, try to get that advantage on the 51. Now, for Cole Cabry and Adam Cabot, there's 2 battles happening here at the same time with this race in the top 3. Obviously, you have Cole and Corey, Cole and Adam going at it for P1 on the racetrack. And they've been the strategy makers all race long. But, Joe, you also have to consider first race of the playoffs, Adam and Cole are in the same group, in Group A. Cabot's the 1 seed, Cole Cabry is the 12th seed. Both of them are running in the same place with each other. They have to focus on each other if they want to get by and advance. Now, 2 of them can advance in each group, but at the same time, Joe, you're looking at a hierarchy of, all right, who's going to be better than who in this first round? And the 17 and the 51 make that statement tonight. So far, it's been in the 51's favor.
You can never doubt the importance of the psychological factor in racing. It is very much a head game sport. Because yes, you need to be able to hit your marks. You need the skill and the precision and the strength to be able to be fast. But if you don't have the mental fortitude to keep that up and to deal with your competitors who are all going to be playing games with you, then you're going to be vulnerable. And so, yeah, right now, between those two, it is definitely going to be important to them to really lay down a marker in the sand and say, I'm the fast one between us.
Now the 17 has another car to worry about. This time, his brother, 39 of Chase Cabry, started to slowly creep up on the Atlas Hair Care Products Chevrolet. So Cabot running the very inside has to think about 39, who has gained a lot of time and is starting to creep in. He's got one lap fresher tire, so obviously he does have a little more grip, but here he comes to the outside of the 17. This fight for third might be decided at the exit of turn 1. Looks like the 39 will have the advantage over the 17. Cabot's going to hold on strong down low, but the advantage should go to the Progressive Bank side of the 39. He got loose, though. They're going to stay door-to-door on the back straightaway.
Wow, that car got pretty darn sideways. He did a great job gathering it up, and Cabot's holding him off because of that. I thought for sure that Chase was going to take the weight off of that Atlas car, but apparently not, and he's going to cut back underneath this time to see if he can get the run down the main straight.
39 is going to cross over, get back to the inside. He's going to steal away that line that Cabot has been using this entire run, so it's going to force the 17 up there. He gets right into the outside wall, so there goes P3 for the taking. Chase Cabry, give it to him.
Wow, and both of them kind of making critical mistakes in 1 and 2. Last time, Chase getting a little bit loose. This time, Adam actually brushing the wall. It looks like because of all this green flag running, it's going to come down to the tiniest things. Just one little mistake like that, and you can see that swaps the positions around, and that loses you the track advantage that you had just moments ago.
And there's Raja Karuth in the background, so the 17 has yet again another car to think about. Now, it's still a bit of distance between those two. However, you're also, again, still thinking about what could happen over the run. 17's going to focus on his own line for now. Here at lap 104, he's going to stay in position number 4. Let's scoot back to position number 21. That's where you will find the Charlotte Phoenix Chevrolet of James Bickford and Joe. This is awfully surprising considering his track record over the regular season, which included 2 straight victories with the Pro 2 trucks at Watkins Glen and 1 with this car at the Michigan International Speedway, or rather at the Charlotte Oval. At Michigan, he finished in 3rd, and he had top 10 runs brewing, top 3s, of course, the wins to go along with it. In the last 3 events, we've seen him finish 15th or worse. 15th at Long Beach with the GT4s, then at Wild West an 18th place finish, and then came home a 17th place finish at Atlanta with the Gen 4s last week to close out the regular season. He came out the gate swinging in Season 7, looked like the favorite, but Bickford, it seems like he's a bit of on a struggling route. He's sort of on the downfall here. Hopefully we can see him recoup, but tonight's race has not been going his way. 21st he sits, still trying to ride this one out.
And as we've been riding on board with him, I mean, it explains everything. Watch this thing off the corners. Look at how much he's having to try and save it and really chase it up off of the exits. He just about lost it at one point while we were watching. And I think he's getting a little bit frustrated out there because I've been watching with his onboard camera here. His expressions and his mannerisms just say that he is unhappy with how this setup is played out.
He's not liking his race so far, and of course he is the second-seeded car in the 16-car playoffs. He has to beat Gary Sexton, Bailey Turner, and Colin Fern. Pretty much all of them are beating him on track right now. Gary Sexton just got past him a couple of laps ago on a bit of fresher tires by about 3 or so laps, and just passed Matt Stolnick from P20. Colin Fern, who has stayed out the longest on our green flag strategies, he's up to 16th in tonight's race. And then Bailey Turner, just talking about his success over the night, he is currently the last driver inside the top 10. So for Bickford, this first race at Homestead not panning out the way he would desire. Hopefully the flame comes back in on the Charlotte Phoenix car of Bickford, but for the moment, just trying to deal with the disappointing run that he's had and the way the car is handling on the set of tires. So it's definitely been rough for car number 29. Hopefully he can be able to recoup once we get to the Talladega race next week and when we get to the late model stocks at Richmond Raceway. Cole Cabry leads this race currently still by 1 second and 1/10 over Corey Heim. Chase Cabry, who has moved up to 3rd, is 1/10 behind car number 11. There's the distance between those 3 in a lap car right in the middle in the form of Brandon Brown. Joe, I figure this race is going to get really close as we get into our last round of stops.
Yeah, if this pace keeps up, then it's going to get fascinating, that is for sure. In fact, the 39 is becoming a serious threat. Look at that. He cuts back underneath. He's going to get the inside away from the 11 down into 1 and 2. And this might be where Corey has to give up the ghost a little bit. Like I said, You don't want to waste your tires fighting one another too much with so many laps left. Of course, you could try and maybe get a little tricky here and maybe undercut some people, but it's just a little bit too early for that, I think.
And for the 39, didn't have to fight the 11 all too much, so benefit there, right? Checking off Times Machine for second place, and Cabry is inside position. This is the second and 3/10 off of his brother in Cole Cabry. Now, here's going to be the funny thing, Joe, because I currently mentioned the last time we were here, Gen 4's Homestead was in the Summer Series. Cole Cabry won that race. You want to know who finished second?
Chase?
Chase finished right behind him. So these two are 1-2 at the moment. 56 laps to go. Still another green flag stop pending. How alternative is the strategy going to be between these two? We know they're teammates at Speed Factor. We know they're brothers. We know they have chemistry. But racer versus racer, you're going to have one trying to beat the other. And it's going to be a lot of fun to watch.
Oh, and I can tell you, as a younger brother, the competitiveness of competing with your brother just ups the ante. You don't want to lose to him. You don't want to have them hanging that over your head for however many races it is until you get to go head-to-head again. So Chase is not going to want to use his namesake here today. He's going to want to try and be ahead of Cole by the checkered flag and be able to claim that victory and strike back at him. So this should be fascinating. They're very, very close on pace to one another right now, so there's not that much of a difference. But again, like you said, I think Chase could maybe try and dive in a lap earlier and just see if he can jump him, because like I said, 2.5-second difference between the beginning and the end, that will absolutely put him ahead of Cole.
Fully agree, and undercuts have worked so far all night long, so why not? If it's not broken, then don't fix it. Corey Heim's going to stay right to the back end of this 39 and keep this a fight and to maintain him honest for the moment with 54 to go. And to make this story even sweeter, Joe, both of these drivers, Cole and Chase, have not won a race this season. They're still chasing after their first of season 7, so there's still a lot on the line for each of those two who have found themselves in predicaments where they've been close, yes, they just have not gotten the cigar. And to add an extra element too, there's lap traffic right ahead of this 51 car. Robbie Lyons, Monin Rahman, and James Bigford are in the way of this 51, so Cole is going to have to weave around traffic as seamlessly as possible without letting his brother catch up to him.
So how is he going to manage that is the big question. Looks like he's going to try and ride low, which has been the faster line so far. Robbie Lyons hanging up high. Some of it is the drivers kind of helping you out a little bit. If they know they're not in a race, they might stay out of the way, so he's going to get into the slipstream there of Robbie. But Rahman and Bickford fighting for position. I mean, they've got their own race to run. They have no reason to just jump to the side and let you through, because this is just as important to them.
As for 21st, and for Monin Rahman, he's in the same bracket as Adam Cabot and the race leader Cole Cabry, so he wants to ensure he can at least remain on the lead lap. If a caution does come out, becomes the saving grace for the 44, and he won't have to worry about all of the extra planning, all the extra driving he has to do forcefully to get back in the lead lap if he does. But this 51 car is there. Bickford's going to run the high side, so will the 44 of Rahman, and James Bickford goes a lap down here with 51 to go.
Always one of the more embarrassing things that happens. On oval racing, it's a little bit more common, but you want to at least be on that lead lap. Have a shot at trying to go for the victory in case something happens towards the end of it. If we get a green-white checkers, and maybe you could dash forward, go through a melee, and steal a surprise win. So it's a real mental blow when that happens. But right now, we are still in a state of flux. We do still have drivers that are climbing and falling out there. This is a tough one, Kenneth, because like you said, the undercut has worked, but you need to manage those tires. So it's still such a big question mark on who's going to have the pace at the right time when the checkered flag comes around.
And also the amount of distance between each driver. You need to close up on that distance in enough time if you're further back and have fresher tires, or just have a better car over the run. It looks like all this lap traffic has actually extended the lead quite a bit. 1.7 seconds developed here. Cole and Chase still separated, as here is Raja Karuth looking to get back into the top 4, running the inside and slowly creeping up on the 17 of Adam Cabot. What a clean race it's been for Raja Karuth, Joe. I mean, very quiet, but very effective in this race. After starting in 11th, he's been running top 5 basically all night long as he rides into that beautiful Homestead sunset, trying to catch up to the 17.
He's trying. Last lap, though, he was about a 10th slower, so he's going to have to pick it up a bit here if he wants to try and chase down and pass that number 17. And it's not that far up to Corey Heim in front of him, too. So, yes, if there's anything left underneath him, it's starting to get to be go time soon.
And then you look further down the order, Blake McCandless, by the way, checking back on him, he is still running the top side, but maintaining 6th position. Right behind him, though, about 3.5 seconds off, is Colin Fern. We haven't talked much about the FRS Racing owner in the NASCAR Xfinity Series, but for Fern, who started 8th tonight, he has held out the longest out of anyone on the green flag strategies by far. And so, at this moment, Joe, it's helped him. He's up to a race high 7th, hanging around the mid-top 15s, top 10s, and here he is. Top 7 run building up, although he's got Presley Sorrell right behind him. So we talk about distance on green flag strategy. Think about Colin Fern, too. He might have a horse in this fight, too.
Yeah, it's like I said earlier, there's kind of a swings and roundabouts to trying to undercut people because you're going to have those fresh tires to get the track position. But as we've seen, passing's not completely impossible here. And you're going to have older tires. In Colin's case, the complete reverse. Yeah, everybody was able to outpace him while he was still circulating out there. But now he's the one with the upper hand compared to all the others. And he's made great use of it. And you have to do that. You have to be lightning quick when you have that fresh rubber to try and push hard and catch those guys. I think this has been just a spectacular job by the 96.
It's going to be pivotal once we get to this last run. We're inside 45 laps to go, so you can easily argue this is the pit window for everyone in this race to at least secure that they can make it to the end on fuel. It's all going to be that duel about how much are you willing to overstay on your strategy if that means getting fresher tires to the end. We could see very differently from Colin Fern, apart from the strategy he's employed all race long, but it's all about things changing over the races. Contact on pit road. Raja Karuth hopped on the brakes going in with Corey Heim, and he goes for a spin.
Oh, no, and he's backing down the pit lane. He's going to try and do the little J-turn, but it doesn't work. He'll now have to just completely whip it around and just tons and tons of lost time. We spoke a little bit too soon about what a great race he was having. Just did not expect the 11 to be there. That said, I think he was already kind of losing it before he got close to that 11 car.
He was, and you see the 11 in front. 13 goes sideways. He goes right in near the inside wall. Does not exactly hit it, but then just backs up. Then right about there gets into the inside wall with the back end and officially loops it around. So that's going to lose a ton of time for Raja Karuth. That is going to be good news for drivers like Adam Cabot, who was playing a lot of defense on the 13 for most of the night. Speaking of which, Adam Cabot is in, and the top 2 leaders remain out on the racetrack. There's a look at the 17 getting his bit of service.
All right, so the dominoes are falling. Who's got the right one in their hand at this stage? Try and hit it right. As through the inside there, Cabot. I can't believe he actually made the space. That's actually pretty narrow there on the exit.
I think I would have been the one giving space there at that point. I would have been the aggressor on that one. But Cabot cycles out right behind Corey Heim, so that's money there for the 17. Going to be able to stay in play with him as we cycle out. Now, looking back at the leaders, they're coming in, Joe, at the same time. Colin Chase entering pit road this time through.
Okay, so there's no shenanigans of trying to undercut the other, it seems. It's going to be a straight fight between them. That's going to be hard for Chase, I think. He could manage to run down Cole, but he's going to have to push so hard to try and reel him in.
So there's Cole getting into his first pit box, the dominant driver all night long. And it's going to come down to this last round of green flag stops with 41 laps left in this Brian Shock Technology 250 from Homestead, Miami. Blake McCandless stays out. He's running the middle lane, so we can at least assume that he'll come down pit road at least the next time by or this time by. Colin Fern stays in second. Blake McCandless is going to come in Fern will hold on to the lead, and it's all going to be about the cycle out of pit road. Corey Heim has the advantage, but just barely over Adam Cabot, and they've got good ground here, Joe, on Cole and Chase for the net race lead.
It's only about 7 cars that still need to pit at this stage. And they're going to have very fresh tires at the end. On top of that, we only have 13 on the lead lap. So if we do get that mysterious caution at some point, then that's going to trap a lot of very unhappy drivers in a bad position. Oof, coming around the outside here, the 17 of Cabot racing hard with Corey Heim and manages to overtake him.
Power move by the Glen Gardner, New Jersey native of Adam Cabot, being able to steal away that position over Corey Heim. He's got the net race lead for now, but the fresh tires, 3 laps in advantage for Cole and Chase Cabry. They might start to cling towards them in the winning 35 or so laps in this race. But Cabot has the hot seat for now. Colin Fern is going to stay out an extra lap here in P1. Presley Sora follows him. It looks like Will Rogers in the 7 car. Haven't talked about him most of the night, but he's going to step in a 3rd. Bailey Turner has stayed out to remain in 4th. Brandon Houff in 5th place, and the race has certainly gone backwards for Jordan Black, who fell as far as the top 15, top 20, Joe, and he has finally entered from position number 6.
Yeah, I was watching him earlier, just not sure what fell apart for him because he looked so fast early in the race. Maybe just was not good at managing the pace over a full stint, and that's why we saw him eventually kind of fall by the wayside. Fern stays out another lap, 37 to go. Boy, he is going to be a rocket ship at the end if he can just climb forward. And hopefully Jordan can maybe kind of do a bit of the same and use some of these fresher tires compared to his rivals to gather them up. Now we just need Fern, Sora, Turner, and Houff, I believe. Everybody else is pitted.
There's Will Rogers, the 7 car coming in, the driver out of Maui, Hawaii, Season 2 champion of the series. Will come in for his stop. Fern and Sora are going to stay out another lap, so they're going to fully go all in this strategy, just like they were in Las Vegas. And it seems like we'll see if it pays off, though, once they have the monstrous fresh tires to go with it. Now watch the battle for the net race lead between Adam Cabot, Corey Heim, and both of the Cabrys. For the 51 of Cole, this strategy has panned out perfectly because in the next couple of laps, after we saw Adam Cabot take over the net race lead, he has fallen back considerably, and Cole is catching up quickly. Couple that with a bunch of lap traffic in their way, and you get a perfect recipe for the 51.
All right, so Cabry now sees Corey Heim only separated between himself and Matt Stallnet. Can he catch him up and try and run him down? He's going to be pushing hard, especially now that he's lost that lead position, that track position. I honestly think that Adam Cabot is in a very good spot here himself, though he's losing out to guys like Jordan Black, who are on fresher tires and unlapping themselves.
But at that point, too, Joe, you got to consider if you're Cabot, you really don't want to fight this lap traffic. Who cares if they're unlapping themselves? Because Cole is catching. He's there. And look at the amount of ground he just gained on Matt Stallneck, who is loose at a turn 4. Corey Heim is basically in that same boat. 51 is approaching quickly here, and that is a sign of trouble for last season's M&R champion.
And that was contact between Heim and Stallneck. So it was Heim that got a little bit loose from the contact, and the 41 had to lift big time. Thankfully, no yellow out of it. But now Cole has been able to pass Matt and sees his rival directly in front of him. Fern stays out. Cabot still your leader after pit stops. No, excuse me, Fern just pitted in.
Yeah, Fern is in, so he comes through. Looks like that will hand the lead officially to Adam Cabot with 33 laps left from Homestead of Miami, and that got really sketchy there at the exit of turn 4, Joe. I don't know if you saw that, but the 51 went right over Joshua Slater, the 01, who got trapped in the middle on old tires. Corey Heim went to the inside. He had to check up significantly, and we've got carnage basically all over the racetrack. Everyone's racing each other, and here look at Heim pressured by Bailey Turner on the inside and almost contact.
You got to leave a little bit more space than that. They managed to get away with it. Now he's able to scythe underneath. He's playing a very dangerous game, but I guess the pressure is on at this stage. He knows that he's got to take some risks because we're only down to 32 to go. And this, unfortunately, does mean that now is when we are perhaps most likely to potentially see a yellow if drivers are going for broke.
It's really scary around Corey Heim territory. Halfa's going to dive in. He makes door-to-door contact, gets into Heim once and twice. And now here comes Chase Cabry stepping in to take away top 3 position. It is not getting clean out here around Corey Heim. All the lap cars are trying to get around. Heim is desperately aiming to stay where he's at, but it is not working. Chase Cabry moves into 3rd.
And I could report for those that have been following Colin Fern, he's back out on the lead lap and in 13th. I think this might actually work out for him, considering he has got, 12, 13 lap fresher tires than some people.
It is just insane to watch everything that's happening at the moment. As there's a look at Colin Fern, who was cycled out in 13th place. He's going to pass here on Alex Monteferrati. He's got a bit of a gap back to Presley Sora, who holds on to the 11th spot for now. He's bringing in Will Rogers, too, as well. So the duo working together to get around some of the old tire cars. Fern's strategy not fully panning out to get him to a race win tonight at Homestead, but when considering how long he stayed out, Joe, in comparison to everyone else, this is a win if you're Fern.
Yeah, absolutely. Sometimes when you go to those extremes, it can pay off in the end. In fact, his last lap, 33 flat, it looks like. Compare that to our leaders, 33.5, half a second a lap faster.
So Fern is clocking them down here at Homestead as they get 3 wide around Adam Cabot. Look at the fight for the lead. Building up, that was Brandon Howe getting around, and that was another car in the mix as well, a lap traffic car, who slowed up to 17. That was the 8 of Jordan Buster. Here comes Cole Cabry on the fresher tires, aiming for turn 1 at a challenge for the lead.
This is where it all starts to unfold for us. All that you've built up in this race is basically playing out. These guys have made their bed, and they're going to witness what happens when they go with the strategy that they did. Cole, I think, is probably the stronger car at this stage. The way he ran him down and is now pressurizing him. But this is where, before we said some drivers not going to fight things, they're going to fight like hell. And Adam is going to try and make that 17 as wide as possible.
Adam's objective is to hold off the 51A, but then B, make him use his Goodyear Eagles to the point where you can even out on strategy, and the 17 can beat him on outright pace. And funnily enough, this strategy was backwards last week at Atlanta, where Cabot was the fresh tire car, beating Bailey Turner in the waning laps of the race, but now he's the one having to play all the defense. Cole Cabry on the offensive end to the inside of 3 and 4. We're door-to-door for the lead with 27 to go, and look at the run out of turn 4 by Cabot. Holds on to the lead.
That's impressive. Again, I thought that the 51 was going to have a bit of an easier time with this one, but Adam, like I said, is just, he's not taking anything from him. Now he's right back on him once again. He's figured out last time didn't work out. He's probably going to try something a little bit different.
You see both of these drivers employ the very inside. Every single lap does that change. For the 51 here, he runs the middle up on that first seam. Cabot got a little bit loose in the center of the corner, but no matter there, as the 51 gets way loose out of 4 in the exit. Will have to stay there for second place. It'll be 24 laps to go from Homestead to Miami. We have a fantastic battle for the first spot in the field, and here's Cole. Big run in the middle for P1 at the exit of turn 2.
Oh, he got the overlap. This might be it. If he gets the run off of this corner, then that might be lights out for the 17. Side by side. Look at him shoot ahead here mid-turn. Now, can he carry that speed off the corner? And it looks like that's going to be a yes. Your new leader is the 51.
All about the fresh tires for the Speed Factor Fusion, and Cole Cabry in search for his first career Monday Night Racing win. Gets over Adam Cabot, and now his objective to pull away in the final 24 laps of the race. There's the 17, who's going to hold on for as long as he can, but in the distance, looming is the 39, the brother, Chase Cabry, who's got one more statement left in him.
And I'm glad you mentioned him, because I was kind of watching that and thinking, well, if Adam and Cole fight for too long, then Chase's might actually be able to try and run them down and make it a 3-car battle. But I don't think that's on the cards anymore, unless Cabot can really get up on the wheel and do something to try and repass the 51. I wouldn't bet on that, but the lap traffic could make it a possibility.
And the lap times are in favor of the 39. As they crossed the stripe, it was a 33.670 for Chase, 33.9, 33.8 for both Adam Cabot and Cole Cabrey. So as they were fighting each other and as they're still dealing with a considerable amount of lap traffic, that's Gary Sexton splitting the top two here out of turn 4. Chase will have that opportunity in the bag. He is closed in, now within 0.6 of a second. That is all he needs, Joe, to at least go at it, even if he's not successful.
And speaking of drivers that are on a charge, I've been watching every once in a while to see what Colin Fern is doing. He's all the way up to 9th and reeling in Presley Sora at a rate of knots.
He's also got 3 other cars in that mix too. I mean, Sora, Tate, Corey Deucer, so it might be a 3-for-1 combination here for Fern. Just get right into the top 6, be able to get a good points night here from Homestead. 21 to go. Cole Cabrey in control by 0.2 of a second over Adam Cabot. And here's a look on board with the other Tampa, Florida native. Gets underneath his teammate in Monteferrante, who's not really going to pressure him on the back straightaway. And the 39, once again, fastest out of the 3. 33.824 was his lap when he crossed the stripe. Cabot and Cole Cabrey basically nowhere near him, about a 10th or worse than Cabrey. So this is going to be big for the 39, this time through 20 laps left.
Right on board with them. Yeah, you can see both of them in front. That's exactly what you want as a driver. Again, I talked about that mental game. As soon as you've got them in your visual, it almost makes you drive a little bit faster. You can overdrive sometimes, but when you can see the progress, it just encourages you. It lets you know, it's that positive feedback. I'm doing things right. And he's going to maybe look underneath here as he's got a little bit of better speed, but not enough.
How much that grows the confidence too, Joe. You see exactly what you're doing out on the racetrack if you're Chase Cabrey, and you're saying, this is my moment, and I'm going to make the use of it, and I've got the confidence that I can get around both of these guys, especially my brother. I've been racing him for long enough on the sim, probably in real life too, so I know his little weaknesses. I can get around him, no problem. But for Chase, he's going to hold back on the 17 and not unleash the pass for second quite yet here, coming to 18 laps to go. Now, mind you, the Cabreys are on the same set of tires, 22 laps old, now going to be 23 this time through. And I believe could Cole Cabrey's run on Adam Cabot, Joe, worsen his tires, just allowing Chase to get back in?
I think so. I think this has played a part in it, and the 39 or the 17, I think maybe just he had to. I mean, he had to fight it, but unfortunately, it ate into his into what he had just a little bit. So now Chase has got it even better than Cole did because he's got someone who's vulnerable in front of him.
Keep an eye, though, on Chase, who's still yet to get around Cabot. And in the meanwhile, Cole's gap to the 17 has grown. Now 0.5 second to 0.6 of a second as they cross the stripe. Time is going down. It'll be 16 laps to go when we cross the stripe. So for the 39, he either needs to get going or he's just going to hold on to what he's got, which would be a top 3. And that would be absolutely wonderful considering the bracket and the group that he's in with Connor Berry, Ryan Vargas, and Joey Padgett. He has them 3 beat after tonight's race at Homestead. So it's not necessarily about getting the win. It's about finishing better than those 3 cars, which he's got that checked off. But imagine as a racer, that intuition, you want more. Cabrey's going to flow a little higher here by 0.5 a groove on the 17. Going to run out of turn 2. Can't do anything quite with it yet on the back straightaway.
Still right with him. Surely there's got to be some communication going on between the teammates of Cole and Chase as well. So maybe let him know what worked for him out there. Gotta imagine he'll probably try and do something similar as he cuts back underneath, looking for that speed. He's achingly close. He needs that tiny little bit of overlap, and once he does that, it's game over.
He's doing the same thing that Cole Cabrey did to Cabot, right? Just getting a little higher on the racetrack, wanting to get to the right rear and make a move up top instead of getting pressured down low. Looks like he tries to look there, though, from moment peeks in, goes into turn 3, the same line, a little bit higher than that 17 to get a bit of the clean air. Looks like Cabot sort of hiccup there out of the final corner. Could this be the opportunity for Chase to get there? Answer is yes. 17 wiggles to the front straightaway, and here's Cabry finally trying to get around for position number 2.
That was fantastic, and great respect between both of them. The 17 could have maybe tried to chop him off, although it may have also ended the races and brought us a yellow. But he gave him the room, he gave him the space, and yeah, you can see that high line was definitely the place to be. As much as he wanted to try and stick his nose in down to the bottom, there's just nothing doing there.
So the 39 to second, but wants to rewrite the history books and not finish second to his brother in a points-paying Monday Night Racing event. It'll be 13 laps to go here from South Florida. Let's look back at the battle for 11th on back. This is Brandon Howe, who put on a wonderful charge to the front last week at Atlanta before forfeiting his playoff spot that he definitely earned, but unfortunately can't make all of the races to the end of the season. So decided to give the last spot to Monin Rahman, but what a race he's had tonight. Up into 11th. And then you look at Will Rogers, Jordan Black, Michael Fisher, all of them sort of close by as Colin Fern moves into 5th and gets by Blake McCandless.
I'm glad you mentioned that. I was kind of just watching that myself. He dropped them like a bad habit when you mentioned that group of cars that he had to pass. It took no time whatsoever. Blake was a little bit farther ahead. Now that he's gotten him, I think he's hit the brick wall. Corey Heim is 14 seconds up the road. That's half a lap. He's got great pace. He doesn't have that kind of pace.
And there's the 12 laps to go, right? So no time
Yes.
for Fern to make that up. But even then, 6th place is definitely the place to be for Colin Fern. Great run so far for the FRS Racing Chevrolet as he fully gets around that 71 of McCandless. Saw a nice battle developing for 7th place behind these guys. Presley Sora and Corey Deucer going at it side by side. Rather quiet races for these two, but both of them at this point in time, it might just be nicely placed in their brackets. But for Corey Deucer, he definitely needs more work with Adam Cabot and Cole Carery besting him throughout the night. Is great look on board here with the Cambridge City, Indiana native of Presley Sora, Season 5 champion. Had a really crazy race last time he won the title with the trucks. Trucks going end over end, run out of turn 4 to the start-finish line as he was crashing through, and Sora got the championship. But right now, a much calmer race, thank goodness, in 7th for now.
The top 10 won't be as memorable, but you'll take the points when you can get them, as he is certainly right up against the wall, and looks like he is relatively comfortable with that. It's certainly been interesting to see the ebb and flow on where to place the car. It started out, the high line was the place to be. It moved down to the bottom. It's come back up to the top. And these last 9 laps, will it change again, though?
Not entirely sure, but I can imagine that these drivers who are running the top now, they're still going to be loyal to running up there. And next driver in line for Sora, by the way, is Blake McCandless, who has been the high line hero all night long. He has not moved in any other lane in the corner. The Sora slaps the wall and gets right out of it, exit of 4. Pretty big hit there, and he'll allow Corey Deucer to get back in it. So it'll be 8 laps to go here at Homestead, Miami, for the bright yellow machine of Cole Carery. There's the gap back to his brother, about a second perfectly between those two. And Cole again searching for his first career Monday Night Racing win. Did it with the Summer Series combo here at Homestead, but now looking to do it for real in his first playoff race. What an event it's been for Cole. Absolutely dominant start to finish. Now he just needs to put in 7.5 perfect laps and hope that a yellow doesn't fly.
Exactly. And I mean, I know that it's not over yet and anything can happen, but I'm looking at that gap. I'm looking at the pace similarity. I just don't think Chase can do this at this stage. Cole has this very firmly in his grasp. Like you said, all he has to do is rifle off the laps here, keep on doing what he's doing, and this is in his lap.
And you can imagine, too, that Chase, as he was trying to get around Adam, wasted his tires more, and so it just helped the gap between Cole and Chase balloon quite a bit in this run to the finish. 51 has a bit of extra lap traffic to get by. It'll be Ryan Vargas in the number 26 car riding in 15th, and then Jordan Black, who's next up on the road, but it will be Robbie Lyons, technically the next car in it, but not necessarily for that position. So the 51 definitely still has obstacles in the way, but it's definitely less than he would encounter, let's say, if there were a bigger pack around him, and he'd be in good shape, the 51, to grab his win. It's still 1.1 seconds back to Chase Cabry. Adam Cabot has fallen short in that fight for second. He's way ahead of Corey Heim, and they are obviously way ahead of Colin Fern. So, Joe, it's just a separated race here, 5 to go.
Yeah, and I think, you know, honestly, with Colin's alternate strategy, we could consider him the best of the rest. Like you said, it's a huge distance between the top 4 and everybody else. So Colin's strategy worked out a treat on that. Corey Heim, you got to give him credit. At times he was in the hunt for that win. It seems like it fell by the wayside right at the end of the race when you don't want it. But this 4th really doesn't tell the tale, I think, as well, of what a good race he's run.
Yeah, for sure. And just encountered the bad luck near the end of the race for certain. That's what has allowed him to burn up his tires, and that's why he's a little slower than the traffic around him. And it is considerably lessening the gap between himself and Colin Fern, but we'll see exactly how that happens. And over the 3.5 laps won't be that big of a difference here. So a slide job on McCandless for 6th.
So how many is McCandless going to lose? We've been watching how many Colin's going to take. I kind of wonder if the 71 has anybody else that can catch him at this point. Deucer is 1.5 seconds back, which is a long way for 3 laps to go. I guess 4 for them. At this stage, they're so far behind. So it's possible, but hopefully this is as far as Blake will fall.
McCandless has definitely been on the back foot, just proving that strategy. Running up top hasn't been the case for him to gain position. It was early on, but as the race has developed, it just hasn't been the plan for McCandless to stay up there at least, and he's fallen short of all those running different lines than him. The NASCAR on NBC, Dodge Intrepid will get a really good finish out of it, but I guess it's more of a statement he's looking to make here at Homestead rather than just a race for points. As here's a look back at Cole Cabry, holding on to the lead 1.3 seconds and counting his lap about a 10th faster than his brother. So here with 2.5, now 1.5 laps left here at Homestead in Miami, this is Cole's race to lose.
Absolutely. Ryan Vargas in front of him. That's the lapped car that you see there in the number 26. So he probably won't put up too much of a fight considering he's well behind Jordan Black at this stage. At least we'll see Jordan potentially finish on the lead lap as it stands.
A white flag in the Brian Shock Technology 250 from Homestead Miami Speedway. And last time we were here, Cole Cabry led 34 of the 133 laps on the way to the victory. He wasn't the lead lap leader by any stretch of the imagination. It was Nick Olson in 51. Tonight, he's been the dominant one, has led the field through every pit of green flag strategy, and for the first time in his Monday night racing career out of turn 4, Cole Cabry is an M&R winner, this time from Homestead Miami Speedway.
Just a beautifully run race. Like I said, it was all about the timing of how you saved your tires, when you changed your tires, when you pushed, and that was perfection. Not a single yellow flag, and he just managed it from a start to finish.
Green to checkered, this race went all the way through, and there is Chase, who finished second in the Gen 4 Summer Series race here a couple of months ago, finished in the same place tonight. And Cole, what a job to stay out ahead of the competition, withheld all of the pressure around him, and the 51 will reap all the benefits and celebrate his first career Monday night racing win. What an unbelievable job by the 51, who becomes now the 4th driver this season, Joe, to get their first career win in Season 7. It has been a monumental campaign, and in the first race of the playoffs, Speed Factor has another victor. This time, it's Cole.
Yeah, I love the celebration. You can tell this meant a lot to him, and Cole just going to burn it down along the front stretch, knowing that he locked this one up and really just impressed out there. About a 1.5 seconds ahead of Chase. I'm wondering if the dinner table is going to have a little bit of bragging when they get together next time.
I'm sure they're probably in a Discord chat right now, just telling each other things, and Cole's probably bragging a bit about dominating this race and staying ahead of his brother. And Cole gets a win this season before Chase. We'll probably see that rivalry just brew on as the season rolls through. And in a heavily contested bracket Group A, where he's got Adam Cabot and then his teammate Corey Deucer, and of course Monin Rahman, the surprise 16th seed driver. Cole Cabry doesn't think about any of that at all tonight and wins the Brian Shock Technology 250 by 1.5 seconds. Let's take a look at the unofficial results here from Homestead in Miami, and this race just was all Cole Cabry's from the beginning to the end. Pole sitter is the race winner. Cole Cabry, the victor tonight over his brother Chase. 1-2 effort for both of them. Adam Cabot, solid event tonight. He rounds out the top 3. Then Corey Heim struggled on his set of Goodyear Eagles late in the running, but still comes home in 4th position. Colin Fern, after staying out longer than anyone else on every single part of strategy tonight, he still comes home with a 5th place finish. Presley Sora gets by Blake McCandless to get to P6, as McCandless falls to 7th, running the high line all night long. Bailey Turner comes home in 8th place, Corey Deucer to 9th, and Brandon Houff, nice top 10 run for the 9 car.
Will Rogers came home in 11th with Joey Padgett in 12th, and it's Christopher Tate, P13 today. Jordan Black did finish on the lead lap, but considering he started in 3rd and looked quick early, he wound up with a disappointing 14th. Ryan Vargas was the last one on the lead lap in P15. Michael Fisher, 16th for him, flanked by Gary Sexton in 17th. Manon Rahman was 18th, and Alex Monterafante, I'm not going to be able to roll my R's, in 19th. James Bickford was 20th.
21st goes to the 41 of Matt Stallneck. DJ Cummings, his teammate behind him, in 22nd. Brandon Brown is 23rd. 24th will go to Robbie Lyons. Devin Henry, the 77, rounds out the top 25. 2 laps down. Josh Slade is 26th. 27th to Brett Baldeck, Mark Rabillis, Jordan Buster, and Raja Karuth round out the top 30. Karuth had a top 5 run brewing before spinning at the entrance of pit road. Could not recover. He ends up 44 laps down. Ford Martin is 31st rather, 118 laps down. And then the last driver of tonight's race, technically Connor Berry in the O2, suffered internet connectivity issues, and Reed Wilson, who signed up for the race, but unfortunately did not take the track from Homestead in Miami. Let's visit Victory Lane, where we are joined by Cole Cabry, and for the first time in his Monday night racing career, he can call himself winner. Cole, I don't think there was any other description of that race other than pure domination. You led this race from the pole. You had a fight on your hands at some points in this race, but what went behind this absolutely stunning run from Homestead to get your first win?
Oh, I don't know, man. I'm just glad it came, right? We struggled but I felt like all season, like last week I flipped over in the Pro 4. I think that was last week. I can't remember. But yeah, no, I don't know. I put in some laps before this, just trying to get ready, and obviously it paid off.
And we've talked a lot over the night about your previous experience here in the Summer Series, Gen 4 at Homestead, where you ended up winning that race, leading 34 or 30, I believe, yeah, it was 34 out of the 133 laps in that race. Did any of that experience come back to mind as you took the track tonight?
I would like to say so, but I don't know. To be honest, I hate Homestead. I don't like the place, but apparently it likes me. It races weird. It eats tires up, and it's a big tire game, and I don't like pit strategy races. I rather just, go all out the last 30 and race. But no, I mean, like I said, any laps help at any track, and especially we race here a lot, so I had a lot of laps under my belt.
And this being your first Monday night racing career win, it couldn't come at a better time. First race of the playoffs. And as we looked at the brackets and all of the groups heading into the race, you're in a pretty stacked one. You have Monin Rahman there. You've got Corey Deucer, your Speed Factor teammate. And then, of course, the top-seeded Adam Cabot. Did any of that come into mind through the race, thinking about that group and the drivers around you, how you were going to attack the race? And how does it feel to be able to beat them here in this first race and be able to get the upper hand in the first round of the playoffs for now?
It definitely feels good. I try not to look at that type of stuff. I just go into every race just trying to win and do my thing, because once you start points racing is when it gets complicated. So, I mean, it's definitely a stacked group, I will say, but I'm glad we got this win in the upper hand, like you said, going into Dega. That's gonna be something. I haven't never finished a super speedway race, so glad to get this win, and then honestly just looking forward to Richmond.
Well, we hope that turns around for you at Talladega next week. I know that one's going to be pretty chaotic as it comes. But final question before we let you continue your celebrations tonight, Cole. Are you going to have the bragging rights over your brother Chase? I know you guys finished 1-2 in the Summer Series race here a couple of months ago. You do the same this time. You're the winner.
Yeah, every time I seem to get a little cocky, it always comes back and bites me. So no, I'll let him. He's better. All right. He's so. But I need to thank Speed Factor, everyone on there. Helping with pit strategy and everything helps me a lot. And then Reckless Society, Bear Graphics for making these things look. I think we have some of the best looking cars on track, I believe. So, M&R for putting it on, and yeah, just ready for Richmond.
Hey, humble mindset, humble mindset. Good news here out of Homestead, Miami. You're the winner, though. You get your first career win in dominating fashion. Cole, on behalf of all of us at Podium Esports, congratulations on the W. Nice to see you finally break through after knocking on the door several times. We'll see you at Talladega next week.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
That's Cole Cabry in the 51, dominating tonight's race to get his first career win in fashion over his brother Chase, who we'll talk to now, and joined alongside Joe Peak.
Indeed, Chase, a second place tonight. Are there mixed emotions seeing your brother finally take that first win, but knowing you were 1.5 seconds shy of beating him?
Nah, I mean, we were on the same strategy all night long. We had our buddy Alex McCullum up on making the calls for us, and so we were on the same strategy. And all practice, qualifying, he was faster. So I tried to push. I felt like I got better as the race went on. I tried to push and get closer, but it didn't work. I burnt my right front off, and then I started really searching, and then I burnt the right rear off. So about 10 laps to go, I knew it was over because for a minute I felt like I was catching him. And then he kind of saw in the mirror where I was running, was able to move up and started running that seam that I was running. And yeah, he was just better than I was. But yeah, nonetheless, good run, good way to start the playoffs.
Yeah, we kind of noticed you guys were mirroring each other's lines there towards the end. Speaking of the strategy, was there any temptation to try and come in one lap earlier than your brother to maybe undercut him at the final pit stop?
No, because I felt like the one lap later was actually better. I debated on going one lap later than him because I did that in the second round of pit stops, and I was one lap later than Corey, um, Adam, and my brother, and I drove them back down. They absolutely blew my doors off when I was leaving pit road, and I was like, damn, that was the wrong call. And then I drove right back up and past him. And Corey did that to me in the first pit. He pitted one lap later and he was able to get around me. So I actually thought about going even longer, but with the deficit that we were faced with, how early Adam and Corey came in, I was like, "Oh, I've got to come." So came down, and when we came out and I saw that we were only like 3 seconds back, I said over Discord, I said, "Oh, we got it. Like we're good. We're gonna smoke them." So yeah, and then Adam turned it up. Like when my brother got to him, it was like Adam flipped a switch and he turned it up. And then it took me forever to try to get around him. He's a really good racer and fun to race around because he races you clean and hard. But yeah, good way to start the playoffs for sure.
Yeah, did you ask Cole for some advice on how to get past him? Because it looked like you two kind of used similar strategies to get it done.
Yeah, I mean, it was really honestly the only way you could pass somebody that was at speed was kind of sneak into their right rear quarter. Seemed like if you tried to go below them, you just got so tight. They could pinch you down so easily, and I didn't want to wreck anybody. So you couldn't go to the top. Once the sun set, the top became useless. So you couldn't go up there, and you were kind of forced to really try to sneak to the right rear and try to get the power down. If you could do that, then you could complete the pass. So I knew once I got off four and got there, I was like, oh, I got it now. But yeah, it's Adam ran a really good race. He's always fun to race around. Like I said, he's really good at Homestead. So is my younger brother. So it was fun. It was the long green flag run. I mean, green to checkered, which is cool. We haven't had that in the league, so definitely enjoyable.
Well, again, congratulations on a podium and a well-run race, sir.
Thank you.
That was Chase Cabry finishing second. And I believe Kenneth has caught up with Adam Cabot, who got passed by the brothers.
Indeed, here with the 17 of Adam Cabot. Not the win like last week at Atlanta in stunning fashion, but consistent race all across the board for the first one of the playoffs in season 7. Just take us through your night, what you were thinking there in that last stint, the strategy, and just your overall thoughts on a race well won.
That was just a hard fought race. The Caprys, oh my god, they are fast. I think tonight really showed it because this was the first race that we got a really long run in. I mean, the entire race went green, which might be the first time I've ever driven 166 laps green at a mile and a half. So I didn't realize how far back fifth on back was until the race ended. So I feel a lot better after seeing that. Because I wasn't sure if maybe I was having a little bit of an off night. Like I just never felt like I could really get in the groove until the last run. But I mean, clearly we were just kind of in a little league of our own. But I messed up the first run by going long. It didn't seem to really pay off tonight going long. It seemed like short pitting was the way to go, so I tried making up for it by short pitting at the end of the race for the last stop, and it worked better than I thought it was going to. I mean, for a second there, I thought I maybe had a chance at holding off Cole. I mean, I was holding off for a few laps there, and I thought maybe I could make him use up his stuff, but eventually he was able to just barely get to my outside, and I mean, he was the car to beat all night for sure. So I don't know if maybe he messed up on pit road a little bit, or maybe if I just gained that much time from short pitting the last run. But I mean, heck, I'll take a P3 to start the playoffs for sure. But like I said, I think tonight just showed how quick both the Cabrys can be.
And we'll talk about that bracket group as we move forward through the round, and we'll talk to you about that. But I wanted to ask about the Oval Refresh. I know that was a brand new addition to iRacing last Wednesday. Of course, tonight was really one of the first tests of Oval Refresh in M&R competition. You guys had a great race at Atlanta last week, but that was a couple days before it actually came out, so you guys didn't really get to test that out. What were your thoughts about the Oval Refresh? Did it change anything for you tonight, or was it just the same approach as before the update?
That's a really good question. It's so hard to tell, honestly. I mean, there's a lot of things that I kept reading into. I'm like, oh, maybe this is because of the update. But then again, it's like, I don't think most of us have ever really run the Gen 4 at this track, and we saw how multi-groove last week was, surprisingly. I mean, being able to run the wall both ends and not really have it affect tire wear. So in some ways, I'm a little bit disappointed because the top still wasn't really there. I mean, Blake was just ripping the boards the first run for the first 15 laps, and I'm like, holy crap. I'm like, he's not falling off. I'm like, this is actually going to be able to work. So I went up there, and then eventually I saw him start to drop back, and it looked like we all just kind of gravitated back to the bottom. But I mean, yeah, it's so tough to tell. I mean, the things that I feel like I noticed, but again, could just be me reading into it too much. But I felt like short pitting seemed a little bit better than it used to be. Like long, like going long, and it seemed like you would always just kind of reel everyone back in. But at least my experience was going long. I didn't really feel like I was that much quicker than the group in front of me. Like I reeled them in, but not that quick. And short pitting that last stop really gave me a ton. So there was a little bit of moving around off the white line, but I kind of feel like we would have had that anyway. So yeah, I'm not really quite sure what to make of it yet. Hopefully, it does improve things. But I was hoping to be able to rip the boards a little bit more tonight. So looking forward to phase 2, I guess.
Well, if there's one thing that we do know is that next week's race is going to have nothing to do with Oval Refresh. It's going to be a super speedway race with the next gens. It came down to strategy. Last time we raced the super speedway with those cars where you ended up victorious. How is Talladega faring in your eyes, second race of the playoffs?
I think Bailey Turner and I are going to go out and lead the most laps like we do every single time we have a next gen race. So, I mean, I guess I shouldn't say that out loud. I mean, these guys maybe are going to go and try to do their homework on exactly how to tandem and what the OP line and move is. But I think every single next gen super speedway race we've had in this league, we've led the most laps. And last time we actually closed it out too and finished 1-2. Usually something goes wrong towards the end. But yeah, looking forward to just working with Bailey all night and hopefully pulling the train along the top and breaking up into a smaller pack. And if it could come down to strategy like it did at Daytona, then I think that would be ideal. So looking forward to it.
On the way to career win number 8, looking forward next week at Talladega in this first round of the playoffs. Adam, we certainly appreciate the time. It's always great talking to you. Great third place finish tonight from Homestead in Miami. Wishing you the best of luck at Talladega next Monday.
Thanks, Kenneth.
That is Adam Cabot reeling in the top 3, and that brings us to the end of our driver interviews for tonight on the podium from Homestead. And Joe, I mean, we did not necessarily see the multi-groove race, expansive racing that we probably expected to see with this new oval refresh, but still, strategy race to talk about regardless. Start to finish, it went all the way green, something that we were definitely happy to see. A lot of great racing, and Cole Cabrey just putting the foot on the field and dominating this one to get his first career win. Just the best way to do it. First race of the playoffs, and what a way to set the tone.
Yeah, and honestly, this race was a testament to the skill and respectability that these drivers have in this series. Like we said, we saw lots of good, fair racing out there. Yes, maybe we would have wanted to see a bit more of the variability of the lines, but I still saw drivers experimenting, trying what they could to get the most out of it. And I think it gave us an entertaining race, but more than anything, I think a completely green race in the Gen 4 at Homestead is a phenomenal achievement.
Gen 4s are always going to provide a banger race here in M&R, but we have to make a complete 180 because next week we go to the next gens, Talladega Super Speedway, our first super speedway in a while, I believe since Daytona earlier in the season, where Adam Cabot got the win. So safe to say, it's been a long time. These drivers have to rust off the dust here for a little bit, or just brush off the dust for next gen to Talladega, because that is going to be wild next Monday.
It will be, and like I said before, it's honestly the last thing that you want in a playoff race is a super speedway. Yes, there is strategy that can be done, but there's so many unknowns, especially at Dega, with it being the bigger and faster one of the two.
Well, another next-gen super speedway race, that's surely to bring us a classic. That comes your way next week, December 18th at 7:30 p.m. You'll find it right here on the Podium Esports Twitch channel. Cole Cabrey gets his first career Monday Night Racing win in dominating fashion. Here at Homestead, we head to the Super Speedway in Alabama to decide the second race of the playoffs for the Monday Night Racing Pro Series presented by Mach 10 Digital. That'll do it for us from Homestead, for Ford Martin and everyone at Monday Night Racing, Brandon Davis and Michael Hall in Race Control, for Ryan Bauer at Podium Esports, our camera builder Dougie Beard, our overlay builder Michael Hall, for Cameron Aubernon on Podium Esports social media, and for the crew on the broadcast tonight, for our producer Eddie Smith and my colleague in the booth Joe Peak, my name is Kenneth Bueno. So long from South Florida. We'll head to Talladega next Monday night for the continuation of the M&R playoffs.